Chapter 406. Iron Dragon stood behind him. The technician in front of him was contacting the Alliance headquarters. Family head, the signal is normal. Each corner of the city has been scanned, and a 3D image has been formed. It can be sent to the Alliance headquarters at any moment. The technician clicked and operated quickly. He was definitely a veteran. Yeah. Iron Dragon nodded his head in satisfaction. The situation was perfect, and it was much more successful than Wu Zhiga's. Thinking about Wu Zhiga, who was known as the strongest 9-star general in the Alliance, how tragic was that? He brought some people to survey the map, but the sect lured them away, and they were all wiped out. What a joke. The headquarters nearly scolded him to death. Iron Dragon led the 6th team and successfully set up many pieces of equipment. Now that they had succeeded in Valley City, all that was left was to head to the other cities. But the only unfortunate thing was he wasn't sent to the Imperial Dynasty to set up equipment. This was a huge project, and if he could complete it perfectly, it would be a huge achievement. He has been there for a period of time. Why isn't he back yet? Iron Dragon frowned. He told him to knock him out. So why was he still not here? Did something happen? But that was impossible. He admitted that the natives had many experts, but his luck couldn't be so bad. There was an expert right next to the inn. The chances of such a thing happening was just too low, even lower than winning the lottery. Suddenly, there was a pung-pung sound from the wall. Iron Dragon raised his hand and told the room to remain silent. He then walked towards the wall that the sound came from. He frowned and was really confused. He felt like something bad was happening. The sound got louder and louder. The wall shook. With a pong, a hole was broken in the wall. Someone scolded downstairs. Who wasn't sleeping in the middle of the night? Iron Dragon was stunned. After the wall was broken, a face appeared in front of all of them. It was the person he sent over. At this moment, his expression was really ugly. His face was covered in blood, and there was a huge bump on his forehead. Why aren't you sleeping in the middle of the night? What are you doing? Lin Fan told Go Zi to move aside and let the wall-breaking machine move to the side. He raised his leg and kicked the wall apart before stepping in. Lin Fan looked at the scenes in front of him. What advanced equipment? You are from the Alliance, right? His words were so straightforward, without the slightest intention of giving the other party an explanation. Marshal Iron Dragon didn't want to cause trouble. He had wanted to explain to the other party that it was just a misunderstanding and that it was fine. But when the other party mentioned the Alliance, his expression changed slightly. Little brother, the Alliance you speak of is confusing me, Marshal Iron Dragon said. The surrounding people looked at Lin Fan differently now. They were filled with killing intent. As long as the Marshal gave the order, they would take his life. Lin Fan smiled as he patted the dust off his body and walked towards Marshal Iron Dragon. He stood behind the machines and pointed at them. Don't take me for a fool. Aren't these wave-like ripples a signal? Don't tell me you've installed some equipment in Valley City to monitor this place? Then, he picked up the speaking device on the table. Alliance Headquarters, please reply. Do. The Alliance Headquarters has received it. Team 6, please speak. Lin Fan placed the equipment down and looked at Iron Dragon. And you said that you aren't from the Alliance. Iron Dragon was stunned. He wasn't shocked because Lin Fan realized that they were from the Alliance, but because he seemed to be really familiar with the Alliance's equipment. What a joke. The Alliance's technology was really high-end, but there were some things that one could recognize right away. Iron Dragon didn't care much about Lin Fan. He was so young, and even if he had some strength, he definitely wouldn't be too strong. Since he was noticed, then naturally, he couldn't be allowed to live. Look, there's someone behind you. Suddenly, Marshal Iron Dragon shouted as he pointed behind him. Lin Fan said, stop messing around. You've already played so many tricks, and you still want to use them in front of me. Hayes, you are so useless. Go Z, turn around and take a look. What is there? Everyone was curious. Since Lin Fan said that, then naturally, he had to take a look. Go Z turned around and said, Young master, there is nothing. Iron Dragon realized that this native was different from the ones he knew. The Alliance headquarters had studied him before. The natives were cunning, cruel, and smart. But when it came to some special things, they were really lost. Instantly, Iron Dragon wasn't prepared to give him a chance. He raised his hand, and the space in front of him shook. Power gathered at one point and didn't spread out. This was an inn, and if the shock waves were too huge, the entire inn would be shattered. The surrounding equipment would be destroyed too. Moreover, if experts were drawn over, then it would be a huge loss. Shio. It was really quick. Normal people wouldn't be able to block Iron Dragon's fist at all. Anyone below Dao Realm would be killed by it. Pata. Lin Fan raised his hand and blocked the punch of Martial Iron Dragon with ease. Iron Dragon was shocked and filled with disbelief. Damn, how is that possible? The fist that he had gathered his strength was actually blocked by this kid. What was his strength? He didn't dare to imagine. Don't be rash. Your strength is only at Dao Realm Stage 2. Lin Fan grabbed his fist and sensed his cultivation. The old man's cultivation wasn't low. If a young man had Dao Realm cultivation, then he would have seen a ghost. Pata. The door was pushed open and a guest hollered in rage. What are you doing in the middle of the night? It is okay. Do whatever you want. When the tenant saw the situation inside, he was shocked. Those people had knives in their hands, and the scene of them confronting each other scared him. He then closed the door, packed his things, and moved to another place in the night. Who are you? Iron Dragon frowned and asked. To have such strength, he definitely wasn't a nameless person. Moreover, he looked really young and wasn't one of those experts who cultivated the body to maintain a youthful appearance. It wasn't that everyone didn't want to maintain a youthful appearance, but it was just that the body was tough to cultivate. For those who had just entered the path of cultivation, it was better to cultivate normally to increase their strength and extend their lifespan than to cultivate their physical bodies. However, even for those with talent, they would be too old by the time they raised their cultivation. If they turned back to cultivate the body, their looks wouldn't be young and they wouldn't be able to return to the past. Your alliance should know me, Lin Fan said. Have you heard my name? Iron Dragon was in deep thought. He was trying to recall this name. It was a little familiar, but he wasn't sure. Is my name not that famous in the Alliance? Lin Fan felt a little bad and wasn't really happy. His battle with the Alliance wasn't shocking, but it was definitely intense. Who knew how much damage he had brought to the Alliance? Logically speaking, the Alliance headquarters should have put him on the wanted list. Iron Dragon frowned and suddenly he thought about something. You are Lin Wani's son, right? It seems like you have remembered. Lin Fan smiled. It seemed like he was really famous, so how could they not recognize him? No matter what, his father's reputation was there. No matter what the Alliance headquarters thought, they would definitely put him on the wanted list. Iron Dragon spoke to the people around in bird language. They couldn't understand what he was saying at all, but it definitely wasn't a good thing. Go Z. Lin Fan called out, and Go Z suppressed all the people around. No matter what schemes they had, as long as they laid on the ground, they would be fine. Go Z's comprehension was not bad. He was starting to develop toward his cousin's direction. Once cousin returned to his side, he would have two capable subordinates. Iron Dragon didn't expect Lin Fan to actually attack. But at that moment, he opened his mouth. If I were you, I wouldn't think that it would be good for you to go against the Alliance. The Alliance can wipe out all enemies to develop, but they can also work with anyone and even become friends with them. Your father is the expert that the Alliance wants to recruit the most. As his son, I think you should think about it for your father. If he continues to go against the Alliance, he will definitely die. Iron Dragon wanted to recruit Lin Fan. He didn't have any enemies, and even if he did, it was just a conflict of interests. What did Lin Wani want? The Alliance studied it for a long time, but they weren't able to figure it out. But the Alliance didn't believe that everyone was like Lin Wani. This was proven by many top sections. As long as they gave enough benefits, even enemies could become partners. Lin Fan smiled. Have you not thought about your own outcome? Iron Dragon said, when I entered the rich land, I thought about it. If I don't die, then I will live. Even if I die now, I won't be afraid. I'm like the border guards. I can give up everything for the Alliance headquarters. Now we should talk about you and the Alliance. You can consider it. Lin Fan was too lazy to bother about this fellow. He picked up the device and contacted the Alliance headquarters. Oi, Alliance headquarters, I am you city's Lin Fan. Your 9-star generals and some small fries are surrounded by me. How are you going to save them or give up on them? Do. The other side wanted to reply, but didn't say anything. It was as if he didn't expect such a thing to happen. After a long while, the other side finally replied. You City's Lin fan? I remember that with your strength, you aren't Iron Dragon's match. So what if you stole it? But you provoked the alliance. You're just asking to die. Lin fan was confused. Who are you? Forgive me for not being able to recognize your voice. You're someone I know. But that isn't important. General Iron Dragon, come over and say something. Iron Dragon looked at Lin fan and then said with a low voice, It is me. The other side was silent. Chapter 407. The one contacting Iron Dragon was 8-star General Xiao Hu. He knew who you City's Lin fan was. He was Lin Wani's son. He remembered that if not for Monster Emperor saving him at Maigu City, he wouldn't have been able to escape from Mao Shintai and Xuedu. Unfortunately, Mao Shintai died in Yu City. General Xiao Hu this. When the Alliance members saw that General Xiao Hu didn't say anything, they didn't know what to do. General Xiao Hu raised his hand and told everyone to be quiet. He then contacted, What do you want? Now, that General Iron Dragon allowed this kid to contact the Alliance. That meant that General Iron Dragon couldn't even protect himself. But he didn't think that this kid had the ability to suppress General Iron Dragon. He definitely had an expert beside him. Otherwise, it was impossible. F*CK your mother. Lin fan only said these 3 words before he sniggered. Rage points plus 999. Rage points plus 111. Lin fan, your father's whereabouts are unknown. You are in Valley City, so the Alliance will go all out to reach you in a short time and kill you. General Xiao Hu was furious, but he acted like he was calm. If he could, he wanted to appear in front of this kid and pluck his head off. Lin fan said, Damn. Who? Heavy breathing spread out from his side like he was bearing with it. Rage points plus 999. Rage points plus 123. When the people on Xiao Hu's side heard those insults, they were furious too. The native actually insulted their general and deserved to die. Not only was the general furious, but even they wanted to beat Lin fan to death. Lin fan, if you have something to say, then say it. There is no point in saying all this. What do you want? General Xiao, who had a good attitude. With his temper, if he was really good, he wouldn't have beaten Lin fan up so badly. But Xiao Hu still had the demeanor of an expert. When he fought Lin fan, he didn't allow anyone to attack. He just fought one-on-one. Lin fan felt that it was easy to earn rage points and that it wasn't difficult at all. I don't want to say much to you. You're just a domain realm, and in the Alliance, you're just a general. I'm a Dao realm expert. In your terms, I'm a 9-star general. Do you really think that we are on the same level as one another when you talk to me about a deal? Don't talk so much. Find someone who can make decisions. Lin fan's words were really hurtful. Xiao Hu was indeed a domain realm, but he was just half a step away from Dao realm. Rage points plus 999, rage points plus 222. When the Alliance people heard that they didn't give them any face at all, they looked at General Xiao Hu awkwardly. To them, this was an unbearable humiliation for General Xiao Hu. Damn, the other party was too much. Negotiate, then negotiate. Why say such hurtful words? Don't you know that we all worship General Xiao Hu? Xiao Hu took in a deep breath and clenched his fists. The speaker didn't mean anything, but the listener was listening. Not being able to step into Dao realm was an insult to Xiao Hu. This was the second time he heard such words. The first time, it was a 9-star general from the Alliance, and this time, it was a native. Damn it. Okay, then wait. I'll get the general to talk to you. Xiao Hu hung up. Inside the inn, Iron Dragon looked at Lin fan. Although we are enemies, don't you think that what you said to General Xiao Hu was a little too much? Xiao Hu, that is a familiar name. Lin fan tried to recall, but he couldn't remember. His brain habitually blocked out enemies below Dao realm. Maybe he really didn't care about it all. Forget it. If he couldn't remember, then there was no need to think about it. How is that too much? I was just speaking the truth. Your Dao realm stage 2 cultivation seems decent, but I just need one move to kill you. You better be well behaved, otherwise I don't mind sending you on your way. Lin Fan looked at Iron Dragon and didn't care about him at all. Go Z. Ask them what they're doing here and whether or not they installed anything. If you think they're lying, then kill them. There's no need to ask me. He didn't think that Iron Dragon and the others came to Valley City for a vacation. There must be some unspeakable secret. Yes, young master. Go Z replied. He looked at the few people who were suppressed and started to ask. At that moment, the Alliance didn't reply at all. Iron Dragon said, You look young, but how did you cultivate at such a young age? Even talented people would need decades to reach Dao Realm, maybe even hundreds of years. He only had one thought, which was that he couldn't let such a person live. The Alliance headquarters had to know how terrifying Lin Fan was. They weren't afraid that his cultivation was high or that he came from a good family. What they were afraid of was his cultivation reaching a realm that shouldn't exist at such a young age. Moreover, the Alliance didn't notice him. If they didn't pay attention and continued to develop like that, the outcome would be catastrophic. It would be an unsalvageable disaster for the Alliance. Lin Fan said, Cultivation is really simple, and there is no difficulty at all. If I want to improve, I can. I know what you are worried about, and I am not afraid to tell you that what you are worried about will really happen in the near future. With my cultivation speed, in less than 3 months, your Alliance will panic. As for whether or not you will live to see that day, that is hard to say. I haven't confirmed whether or not I will let you live. When Marshal Iron Dragon heard this, he burst out laughing. 3 months? I just want to tell you not to underestimate the Alliance's strength. Even your father doesn't dare to underestimate the Alliance's strength. Don't provoke me. Do you think that I will let you live for another 3 months just because of your words? Lin Fan glanced at him and then said in disdain, You are still playing tricks in front of me. What a waste. Iron Dragon didn't want to say any more nonsense. Who knew that Lin Fan would actually think that he was provoking him? Did he really think that he was afraid of death? He was thinking too much. Suddenly, a scream spread out. Go Z was really vicious and killed an Alliance member right away. Go Z asked them what they were doing and what they were installing in Valley City. No one told him. Someone said that they were playing in Valley City, and the moment they said that they were playing, Go Z killed one of them. Those scenes totally terrified them. The main reason was that they were too impulsive, and no one expected Go Z to attack just like that. Lin Fan was lazy to ask. Go Z was someone with his own thoughts. Anyway, it was fine as long as one of them survived. It is an honor to die for the Alliance. The Alliance will remember all of you. Iron Dragon said. He hoped that these members could calm down and not be frightened by Lin Fan's methods. Lin Fan said, Nonsense, Honor. To the Alliance headquarters, you are just cannon fodder. I advise you to tell the truth. Don't die for no reason. Looking at you, you should be married. If you die, no one will help you take care of your families. The few Alliance members were terrified, but they acted calm and hollered. If we die, the Alliance will take care of our families. Our brothers will also take care of our families. Asai, how sad. If you die, your family will have no pillar of support. Your children will have to take someone else's surname and be beaten by them. Needless to say, your wives will belong to someone else. Your family property will also be. Lin Fan wanted to say more, but he was interrupted by the emotionally unstable people. Shut up, don't say any more. An Alliance member hollered. He didn't believe that such a thing would happen, but for some reason, such scenes appeared in his mind. Lin Fan said, Tell me everything you know and I won't kill all of you. Lin Fan, stop wasting your time. They live and die for the Alliance. Their lives aren't important to us. The Alliance's future and victory will be built on our corpses. Iron Dragon said, but for some reason, he panicked and felt like those people would be persuaded. At that moment, a voice spread over from the Alliance. You City Lin Fan, Lin Wani's son, I am Alliance Headquarters Chi Xiao. If you have something to say, then say it to me. On the Alliance side, Chi Xiao's face was cold. Lin Fan was really arrogant and didn't even care about Xiao Hu. He even wanted to speak to the 9-star general. He really didn't know his place. Lin Fan said, You say that you're a 9-star general. Okay, I will believe you. What stage are you at? What does this have to do with my cultivation? If you have something to say, then say it. It is our bad luck that you captured Iron Dragon and the others, but don't think too much. All Alliance members are prepared to sacrifice for the Alliance. But I can tell you that I am at Dao Realm Stage 5. How about that? Chi Xiao replied. Lin Fan smiled. Dao Realm Stage 5? Isn't that the same level as Mao Shuntai? Unfortunately, that fellow died in Yu City. If you were there, you would have been one of the dead 9-star generals. All right, I miss Zhu Daoshen and Wu Zhiga. They were lucky this time, but it is hard to say whether or not they will be lucky next time. Arrogant. Arrogant. Chi Xiao was furious. He provided rage points. He didn't expect the natives to be so arrogant. Did they really think that they could do whatever they wanted just because they captured Iron Dragon and the others? DD. Lin Fan noticed a window pop up on the screen. He looked at Iron Dragon. This is a video, just click on it. Lin Fan sat on the chair and pulled. Iron Dragon knelt on the ground. Such an insulting action infuriated Iron Dragon, but the situation wasn't good, so he could only bear with it. He picked up the video. An image appeared on the screen. An old man's face appeared on the screen. Lin Fan smiled calmly. This should be the first time I am video chatting with an Alliance 9-star general. Your technology is not bad, but there is something lacking, which is that it doesn't have beauty enhancement. If it did, it would be even better. Marshal Chi Xiao had wanted to give the other party a good scare, but when he saw how calm Lin Fan was, he couldn't help but sigh. He suddenly felt that the kid in the video wasn't ordinary. He didn't look like a young man should have. Actually, what did he understand? If one was strong, anyone could be calm. Chapter 408. Lin Fan's words were totally random to Chi Xiao. No one knew what the kid was talking about, but it definitely wasn't anything good. Chi Xiao's face blocked the screen such that Lin Fan couldn't see what was going on. At the same time, he told the Alliance members to organize Lin Fan's information. This kid had to be killed and couldn't be left alive. But when Chi Xiao saw Iron Dragon kneeling to the side, he felt like he was going to explode. A 9-star general knelt down just like that. Could he have some dignity? Or did he even care about the Alliance's face? Chi Xiao suppressed the rage in his heart and said, Lin Fan, just say what requests you have. Iron Dragon is an Alliance 9-star general, so naturally, we have to protect him. But I hope that you know your place. If your requests are too much, the Alliance won't agree. Since the situation was like that, what else could he do? Iron Dragon wasn't weak and was at Dao Realm Stage 2. But now, he was forced to kneel on the ground. If he hadn't personally witnessed it, he wouldn't have believed it. Lin Fan was thinking that the Alliance definitely wouldn't want 9-star generals to die here. They weren't cabbages, and if one died, there would be one less. Moreover, during the Yu City battle, many 9-star generals died. The other defense lines took the chance to wipe out the Alliance and attack the main camp. They also killed some 9-star generals. This was why the Alliance paid a huge price to break through the defense line. Since Chi Xiao was willing to talk, then they could have a good chat. When we talk about serious topics, let's make a heart sign. Lin Fan raised his hand and made a heart sign. Chi Xiao was really angry at this kind of frivolous behavior. He took in a deep breath and suppressed the rage in his heart. He then said, Can you be more serious? If you don't want to talk, then we don't need to. The Alliance won't let you off. Lin Fan shook his head. You really make me feel helpless. Can't you take a joke? Relax. Don't worry too much. It doesn't matter whether or not you let me off. Even if you are willing to let me off, I won't let you off. Chi Xiao frowned. This was a tough fellow and wasn't as easy to deal with as the other young people. Till now, they didn't have any actual conversation, but Lin Fan had infuriated Chi Xiao several times. He clearly didn't say anything overboard, but his attitude and the way he spoke were very displeasing. Iron Dragon, who was kneeling on the ground, said, As an Alliance 9-star general, I don't fear death. If the Alliance suffers losses because of me, then I would rather die. He was righteous and selflessly contributed to the Alliance. When the Alliance members heard these words, they were all filled with respect. They wanted to roar in rage. Open your dog eyes and take a look. This was their 9-star general. They weren't afraid of death for the Alliance. Lin Fan said, "If you aren't afraid of death, then just smash your head against the wall and die. Why do you have to say all this?" Tai Long raised his head and looked at Lin Fan. F***CK. He ignored Lin Fan and lowered his head, not wanting to say anything more. This brow was really too much. He just said a few words, and he went straight to the point. Die by smashing his head against the wall? Have you ever seen a Dao Realm expert die by smashing into a wall? If there's really such a thing, I'll see you bang one to death. However, he was too lazy to say anything more. There was no point in saying too much. Now that Qi Xiao was talking to him, the outcome would depend on their conversation. Qi Xiao was satisfied with Iron Dragon's words. This was how an Alliance 9-star general should be. He then said, "Lin Fan, don't waste time. Just say what you want. The Alliance headquarters won't give up on any Alliance citizen." "Okay, since that is the case, then I won't waste any more words with you. I heard that the Alliance 9-star general techniques are decent, and I don't have many requests. Just give me 100 and I can release him right away," Lin Fan said. The atmosphere suddenly became silent. It was as if a needle had dropped on the Alliance side. Everyone opened their mouths wide like they didn't expect that someone would actually say such a request. In their eyes, this aboriginal kid seemed to have become extremely greedy at this moment. Now, let alone Qi Xiao and the others. Even Tai Long was dumbfounded by these words. He really wanted to shout, "You're dreaming." But for some reason, he wanted to see how the Alliance would reply. Perhaps Tai Long wanted to prove what kind of position he occupied in the hearts of others. Qi Xiao said coldly, "Kid, don't you think that your request is a little too much? If you don't want to negotiate, then don't waste time. 109-star general techniques, you are really asking for it." Too much, that was really too much. He didn't know how shameless this kid was to ask for such a thing. Qi Xiao wasn't a fool. Even if he really gave the 100 manuals to the other party might not necessarily release Tai Long. This is my request, and my only request. If the Alliance can't do it, then there is nothing to talk about. Lin Fan said, "Hey, how sad. I didn't expect a Dao Realm Stage 2 9-star general to be unable to trade for a bunch of useless techniques." Iron Dragon looked at Lin Fan's face and really wanted to smash this kid's head. 100 techniques sounded really simple from Lin Fan's mouth. If he really gave them to him, then he would be helping the enemy. Qi Xiao said, "Lin Fan, you don't need to say such words. 100 is impossible, at most 10, but you have to trade face to face. Otherwise, how would I know whether or not you would go back on your words?" Lin Fan smiled. How could he not understand the meaning behind Qi Xiao's words? "I realize that the Alliance is really despicable. You can even say things like trade face to face. Can you have any shame? I am familiar with your tricks. Don't you just want to kill me when we trade face to face? Do you really think that I am as stupid as you? Stop talking so much. Let's see whether or not we are sincere. Just tell me the contents of the technique through the video." Lin Fan lacked many techniques, especially Dao Realm ones. He wanted to get as many as he could, but he felt that it was impossible for Qi Xiao. With how cunning the Alliance was, they were on the same level as him. Pui, he was the righteous one, but it was tough for him to block the cunning Alliance. Iron Dragon felt really sad. He felt like they were arguing. Qi Xiao didn't want to save him, and this kid didn't want to let him off either. They seemed like they were plotting, but he had no evidence. Qi Xiao said, "Then, how can I trust that you will keep your promise?" Lin Fan said, "Do I look like someone who doesn't keep my promise?" The atmosphere was a little suppressed once more. There was no way to continue the conversation. Lin Fan just wanted to end the conversation. He basically had nothing to say. Qi Xiao kept silent for a long while and then said, "If that is the case, then I don't think we have anything to talk about. You don't trust the Alliance, so how can we trust you?" "Iron Dragon, what do you want to say?" Iron Dragon's eyes were a little lost. He felt like the situation wasn't right. Based on what Qi Xiao said, it seemed like he really wasn't prepared to save him. If he really wanted to save him, he wouldn't have said so much nonsense. What did he want to say? That was a really complicated problem. He said that he was willing to give up his life for the Alliance, but that depended on how he paid the price. If it was just because of techniques, then there was no need. His death wasn't worth it. Qi Xiao, you have the final say. Tai Long pushed the problem to Qi Shao. He wouldn't make decisions for his own life. He said, I haven't brought victory to the Alliance yet. I thought that I would die on the path of expanding for the Alliance. Who knew that I would be killed by this kid? I am not willing to die like this. Damn, as expected. Qi Shao knew what Iron Dragon was thinking. The little fellow sounded nice, but actually, he didn't want to die. But he definitely didn't believe that Lin Fan would keep his promise. Even if he gave him the technique, Lin Fan would definitely kill Iron Dragon. This was a 9-star general and not a random person. The death of a 9-star general would be a huge blow to the Alliance. Any native with a brain wouldn't let him go. Moreover, the Alliance wasn't prepared to keep their promise. If Lin Fan dared to face the Alliance and hand over the technique, he would definitely kill or capture this kid to threaten Lin Wani. Qi Shao, I am too lazy to waste time with you. I will only give you 10 seconds. If you are willing, then give it to me. If not, then I will help the Alliance send him on his way. Lin Fan said. Countdown begins. 10. Iron Dragon was terrified and his heart jumped. Slowly, power seeped out from his body, but it was quickly suppressed by Lin Fan's palm. All the power was suppressed into his body and couldn't explode out at all. Over at the Alliance. General Qi Shao, are we really not going to save Iron Dragon? Xiao Hu asked. Qi Shao replied, do you think that if we give him the technique, he will keep his promise and let Iron Dragon go? Stop dreaming. You know how cunning the natives are. If they were so naive, then we wouldn't have sacrificed so many 9-star generals. Moreover, each 9-star general technique is really precious. If we give it to the natives, they will be able to find our weakness. When that happens, not only will we lose them, but they will also become stronger. General Xiao Hu kept silent. General Qi Zhao's words made sense, but he was really unwilling to do nothing to save him like that. Xiao Hu, sometimes sacrifices are unavoidable. Although it is a huge loss for the Alliance, I believe that they are prepared to sacrifice themselves. Just remember that dying for the Alliance is an honor. Pata! Qi Shao raised his hand and cut off the video call. The screen turned black. Lin Fan looked at Iron Dragon. He raised his hand and pointed at the screen. You have been abandoned. Iron Dragon's pupils constricted like he didn't expect that Qi Shao would actually give up on them so quickly. This was totally different from what he had expected. That is impossible, Iron Dragon muttered and actually didn't know what to do. Lin Fan said, nothing is impossible. Maybe to the Alliance headquarters, your value is just to set up these facilities. If something really happens, they will abandon you and won't place any hope on you. Iron Dragon didn't reply to Lin Fan. He shouted in his heart, impossible. I have given so much for the Alliance, so how can they abandon me just like that? Chapter 409. Lin Fan was a little disappointed. The Alliance dogs weren't fools. Not mentioning the 100 techniques, they weren't even willing to trust him for 10. That was really hurtful. A few techniques didn't matter, but the key was whether or not there was trust between people. The actions of the Alliance dogs had broken his heart. Pa! Lin Fan's sword slashed down, and with a single hand, he smashed Tai Long's head. I am asking you, do you want to die? Iron Dragon's heart suffered a huge blow, and he was immersed in pain. Lin Fan's smack caused his brain to shake, and he nearly had a concussion. He raised his head and looked at Lin Fan. He wanted to say that as an Alliance 9-star general, he wasn't afraid of death, and that dying for the Alliance was an honor. But if he said those words now, then what else could he be? But he was a 9-star general, and if he said something different, then he would lose all his face. Lin Fan saw that Iron Dragon didn't reply, and said impatiently, I am asking you, do you want to live, or do you want to die? Iron Dragon kept silent for a moment and said, everyone has the right to live. If you can live but choose to die, then you won't be fit to be a human in your next life. That is a disregard for life, and you have to pay a price. Pa! Lin Fan smacked Iron Dragon's head in rage. Stop saying all this nonsense. Just tell me whether or not you want to die. What is the point of saying so much nonsense? Iron Dragon was a little angry. Although they were enemies, he was old enough to be his grandfather. Why'd he treat him like that? Did he respect the old and love the young? I want to live. As the saying went, one's heart chased after the source of the Tao and what one thought was the truth. Iron Dragon could tell anyone that he wasn't someone who was afraid of death. He just followed the choice in his heart. At that moment, Gozi also had a constructive development. Those Alliance members didn't dare to hide anything and directly told him about the equipment. At the same time, they told him where it was buried. Originally, they still had some hope. But the Alliance headquarters even gave up on Iron Dragon, much less them. Iron Dragon looked at those people and had many things he wanted to say. But at that moment, he didn't know what to say. To say that they betrayed the Alliance headquarters wasn't true. After all, the Alliance headquarters had abandoned them. Gozi left the room to dig those things. Alliance headquarters. Qi Xiao hesitated. He turned off the video to show that the Alliance headquarters wouldn't compromise. But now it was about time. Qi Xiao was prepared to have a good talk with Lin Fan. Some things needed to be negotiated. The fact that the other party needed the Grand Marshal's secret manual meant that it was of great use to him. Thus, Zhang Xian was confident that he would be able to convince the other party. Crimson Sky continued to play. Outside the service area, Qi Zhao's head was full of fog, and he was very confused. Everything was fine just now. How did it become like this now? General, Valley City's signal has disappeared. The Alliance member reported. Now that the signal had disappeared, there was only one possibility. The people in Valley City had told the other party where the signal equipment was hidden, and now it was destroyed by the other party. They actually betrayed the Alliance. Qi Zhao's face was dark, and he was furious. He was very confident in the members of the Alliance and thought that no matter what kind of danger they faced, they would never betray the Alliance. But now it seemed like he was overthinking. Xiaohu said, "Actually, you can't blame them. Cutting off the communication meant that the Alliance headquarters had given up on them. To save their lives, wasn't that a normal thing? How can we not blame them? They are such cowards. If it was me, even if I was tortured, I wouldn't betray the Alliance." Qi Xiao said confidently. Xiaohu looked at how serious Qi Xiao was. For some reason, he was actually looking forward to how Qi Xiao would react when he faced such a thing in the future. For some reason, he was really curious. He shook his head and tossed such impractical thoughts to the back of his head. We have to report this to the Alliance headquarters. Lin Wani's son has appeared in Valley City. This is really useful news. Maybe we can send experts in to investigate his whereabouts. Xiaohu said. Qi Xiao nodded and agreed with what Xiaohu said. But the rage in his heart couldn't be quelled. Just thinking about Lin Fan's face made him furious. Within the inn, Lin Fan lifted Iron Dragon's chin. His posture was a little weird, but that wasn't important. He had to have a good talk with him. He couldn't get any techniques from Qi Xiao, but he could get some from Iron Dragon. After all, he was Tao Realm Stage 2. No matter what, he did have some techniques, right? Iron Dragon was filled with shame. Damn, he actually fell to this kid's hands. There are only two paths in front of you. One is to die, or the other is to tell me the Tao Realm technique that you learned. I can let you live. Lin Fan said. Iron Dragon looked at Lin Fan and hesitated for a long while. He didn't know whether or not he could believe his words. But the current situation was really obvious. No matter whether or not he believed it, the choice was right there. If he chose to die, he would definitely die. If he chose the second option, there was a 50% chance that he wouldn't die. Should he gamble? Any normal person would, right? Lin Fan, you have such cultivation at such a young age. In the future, you will definitely be a dragon amongst humans. This world won't be able to restrict you. Our alliance might just be a form of training for you. I just came out from the alliance and have never killed a native. No, I have killed your people. So, I choose the second option. Iron Dragon's expression was solemn, like he had made a huge decision. He really didn't want to die and had some hope. But he really didn't dare to confirm whether or not Lin Fan would keep his words or if he was just lying to him. Lin Fan was satisfied with Iron Dragon's choice. There's no need to write the technique, just dictate it. What he lacked was a Tao Realm technique. Although other techniques were fine, for his current cultivation, it was better to raise the Tao Realm. The merging function was decent. He could merge two techniques into one, and at the same time, he could raise the level of the technique. But some techniques couldn't be raised, such as Dao Realm or Domain Realm. That was a huge headache. Maybe it was because he lacked something. Iron Dragon had cultivated a total of 2 Dao Realm techniques. This was what he got from the Alliance headquarters when he became a 9-star general. Lin Fan realized that the techniques that the Alliance cultivated weren't much different from theirs. He was thinking about whether or not the martial path was connected or whether or not the Alliance's relationship with them wasn't like that at the start of the martial path. Of course, there was no way to investigate this, and no one knew where martial arts began. It was as if it had existed since birth. Lin Fan was satisfied. Not bad. He got 2 more Dao Realm techniques for free. It was just a waste that the negotiations with the Alliance didn't succeed. If the negotiations were successful, then the technique matter could be solved. Can you let us leave now? Iron Dragon asked. Lin Fan squinted his eyes and looked at Iron Dragon and the surrounding Alliance members. He was thinking about whether or not he should let them go. The existence of the Alliance brought them many problems. Moreover, many fearless experts who fought against the Alliance died in their hands. Deep in his heart, he didn't want to. But since he promised them, if he didn't fulfill it, then that would be a little despicable. As a young master of a rich family, Lin Fan's character was definitely not a problem. Okay, I will let all of you go, but there is something I have to do. The moment he said this, the Dao patterns that Lin Fan had cultivated floated out and surged into the other party's body, crushing the Iron Dragon Dao patterns violently and turning him into a cripple. You! Iron Dragon raised his head and looked at Lin Fan in disbelief. At the same time, he was furious. If that was the case, then wouldn't he become a useless person? Lin Fan glanced at him and said calmly, "Don't feel unhappy. My original intention was to kill you, but since I promised you, I won't go back on my words. I'm only crippling your cultivation so that you won't continue to harm others." Dao Realm experts were really destructive. If they really wanted to attack, they could wipe out a city in the blink of an eye. We are weak, so there's no need for that, right? Those Alliance members said. They weren't strong and felt like it was the same whether they were trash or not. I also promised that as long as you tell me where the equipment is, I will let you live, so I will let you go. Lin Fan said and then nodded towards Gozi. Gozi understood and attacked right away to kill all of them. When Iron Dragon saw this, he exclaimed, "Didn't you say that you would let them go?" Lin Fan said, "Gozi, what are you doing?" "Young master, I didn't notice." Gozi said innocently. Lin Fan sighed, "Forget it, so be it. After all, the dead can't be revived, so I can't let you pay with your life." Iron Dragon opened his mouth and actually didn't know how to reply. But then his body seemed to have lost all its strength, and he felt really powerless. His arms hung by his side. He understood that they were like fish on the chopping board, waiting to be slaughtered. Even if they fought back, it would just be a silent shout. To Lin Fan, Iron Dragon could live, but the technicians had to die. Without strength, Iron Dragon would be useless. But even if the technicians lost their strength, their skills were still there, and they could still work for the Alliance headquarters. Being merciful and leaving enemies alive wasn't his style. "Gozi, pack up and let's go." Lin Fan pushed open the door and left the inn. Gozi kept the Alliance items and followed behind. In the end, Lin Fan was still terrified. If their location was exposed and the Alliance headquarters really came, then it would be a huge problem. So, it was best if they fled early. Pata! Iron Dragon sat on the ground powerlessly. He had never felt such a feeling before, but he knew that he was already useless. Even if he returned to the Alliance, he wouldn't be welcomed, and no one would care about him. Today, to Iron Dragon, what he needed to worry about wasn't how to return to the Alliance. What he needed to worry about was how to compensate for the broken wall of the inn. P.S. Guys, follow my WeChat public account. Chapter 410. Lin Fan ran out with Gozi. It wasn't that he was a coward, but it was a strategic move. There was no need for him to take the risk in Valley City. In his words, it wasn't bravery, but stupidity. He couldn't predict whether or not the Alliance headquarters would send experts to rush through the dimension. It was hard to say. It was best if they didn't come, but what if they did? As for whether or not Iron Dragon would be beaten to death in the unfamiliar Valley City, it was hard to say. Lin Fan didn't care too much about it. After Lin Fan left the inn, the innkeeper sneaked up with the waiters. They were afraid, but when they saw that there was only an old man sitting paralyzed on the ground, their courage returned. As for those corpses, Lin Fan had sent them into the dimension. When a manager saw the walls shatter, he was so furious that he wanted Iron Dragon to pay up. Iron Dragon didn't even react between the 9-star general and trash. He scolded him for being arrogant. The innkeeper was startled by Iron Dragon's bluff. He didn't expect old men to be so evil nowadays. How could he take it lying down? He directly taught the waiters a lesson. Iron Dragon laughed coldly. Ants actually dared to fight with Sky Dragon. But very quickly, a tragedy occurred. He realized that he was a defenseless old man. Not to mention a bunch of ants. Even one ant was enough to make him cry for his parents. He felt like he would die if he continued to be beaten up. Begging was useless. The manager only wanted money to pay for the walls. But Iron Dragon was a marshal. When he went out, no matter what he did, how could he be the one to pay? It was always the people by his side who paid. More importantly, he couldn't take out the things stored in his dimensional space. This was a really awkward matter. He had lost all his cultivation and was now a piece of trash. If he knew that this would happen, he would have taken out some money. As for now, it was too late, totally too late. In this world, killing people wasn't a big deal anymore. The Imperial Dynasty couldn't control Valley City. But the manager was a kind person. He told the waiters to stop because he was really afraid that they would kill him. At the same time, he gave him a chance to be a waiter in the inn. No, he definitely couldn't be a waiter. At his age, his limbs weren't nimble, and at most, he could only do some dishes. No matter how weak Iron Dragon was. A second ago, he was still a marshal. Now, he had become a dishwasher. The difference between the two was really a little big. Outskirts of Valley City. Young master, you rest first. I'll keep watch tonight. Gozi's cultivation had already reached domain realm. If it wasn't for the fact that his control of his own strength wasn't perfect, he would have raised Gozi to Tao Realm Stage 1. He finally realized just how terrifying the main god's faith was. This terrifying premise was built on the small support system. He had lent out his own strength, but it did not affect him at all. If it were any other overgod, they would have been sucked dry a long time ago if they dared to lend out their strength like this. Not to mention, Gozi's faith had reached the peak and the power he received was only one realm lower than him. Apart from him, who else could take it? His idea was very simple. He wanted to raise his own strength and recruit people of faith. In the end, if all of them could reach the pinnacle of faith, the power level of his army would be incredible. Not to mention the Alliance. Even if the Alliance added all the top sects, they might not be able to fight him. Gozi, there is no need to keep watch tonight. Your control of strength is still too weak, and you have to perfect it. I will raise your strength. If you aren't a Tao realm, you are just an ant. Lin Fan said. Yes, young master. Gozi replied. With Lin Fan's current strength, if an expert really came, he would have sensed it. If he couldn't, then even Gozi wouldn't be able to do anything. There was no need at all. The Alliance headquarters wasn't calm. General Qi Xiao informed them about what happened in Valley City. What they cared about the most was Lin Fan's strength. Within the meeting room, many 9-star generals were there, and their expressions were solemn. Each of them had a data table in front of them, and the owner of the table was Lin Fan. Tao Realm Stage 2, very young. I estimate that he is 20. Even if he cultivated from his mother's womb, that is impossible. An Alliance 9-star general said. He hadn't been through the U City battle and was one of those who wanted to protect their lives. No matter what happened, they would let others do it while they cheered from back. Zhu Daoxin kept silent for a moment and said, It is true. I remember the U City battle. Mao Shintai and this kid fought one-on-one, and we thought that with Mao Shintai's cultivation, it would be easy to kill him. But in the end, we fought for a long time, and he still wasn't able to kill the kid. At that time, the kid was already a Tao realm. The moment he said this, the meeting room was filled with shock. Some of them couldn't sit still anymore. How is that possible? At his age, it is impossible for him to reach such a realm. Or does Lin Wani have a way to raise his cultivation quickly? All of our brains can't compare to a brute. Lin Wani's nickname was quite famous in the Alliance. He didn't study and spoke simply. To be able to cultivate to such a realm was just like seeing a ghost. I can prove that it is true, Wu Zhiga said. He suddenly recalled this matter. If not for the situation at Valley City, he would have forgotten about this kid. After all, he was used to thinking that anyone weaker than him was trash, and he didn't need to care at all. However, he neglected his age. Why didn't you say anything about such an important matter? The Alliance 9-star general scolded. Actually, they weren't really scolding him, but they just felt a headache coming on. Wu Zhiga said, "We forgot. The main thing is that he was a little weak, so we didn't care much about it." Kiki. Someone laughed coldly. Wu Zhiga, all of you didn't care about it. In the future, you might just be developing a terrifying enemy for the Alliance. One Lin Wani made us lose so many 9-star generals. His son reached such a realm at such a young age. What do you think will happen in a few years or 10 years? I don't think I have to be so direct, right? Everyone kept silent. They weren't fools and obviously understood what he meant. If they didn't care, in a few years or 10 years, the Alliance would have to face invincible experts. Don't think that it was impossible. Talent was really hard to predict. The Alliance understood that the birth of an expert required 100% hard work. But sometimes the world was unreasonable. Those with great talent would eat, drink, and play around every day. Their cultivation would soar like a car, and no one would be able to catch up to them. Zhu Daoshen and Wu Zhiga looked at one another. Their eyes shone with a solemn expression. Before this, they really didn't care much about this matter. If Qi Xiao hadn't spread the news back, they probably wouldn't have cared much about it. Based on the current situation, should we send more people to surround him and kill him while we can still control him? Wu Zhiga asked. Of course, we can't let this kid live. But we haven't occupied the natives' territory, and it might be dangerous to enter. So, we can spread the news and let the top sects attack to solve this problem for us. Naturally, we can't just do nothing, and we have to do what we have to do. A bearded 9-star general said. The moment he said that, everyone agreed. As expected, they were so cunning. They were toying with the pressure of the top sections. To let them know the pressure. To any sect, if they knew that there was such a person, they wouldn't sit still and do nothing. They would send experts to kill Lin Fan. Uncontrollable factors were just too terrifying. While Lin Fan was snoring away, the Alliance started to play dirty once more. If he knew that the Alliance was paying attention to him because of the Valley City matter, he would be really happy. Damn, he was just too emotional. Didn't this mean that he didn't need to find trouble with others, and naturally, people would kind of find him? At the same time, he would gain more rage points. After all, it was normal for such an outstanding guy to be envied and envied by others. Next day, Lin Fan woke up. Gozi didn't sleep at all and was controlling his own strength. The power of Domain Realm was too huge for Gozi, so naturally, he needed some time. Let's go and destroy the equipment that the Alliance placed in our territory. Last night, the people that Gozi interrogated told him the location. The Alliance's technology was a problem and couldn't be underestimated. Otherwise, all their tracks would be under the Alliance's control. Now, he wanted to develop Marshall Path Mountain. Valley City belonged to the territory of Marshall Path Mountain. Now, all the sects were occupying land. Since they liked to play the expansion game, then he would play with them to see who occupied more land. Young master, there is a tea pavilion in front. Let's go and rest. In the blink of an eye, it was afternoon. Gozi wasn't tired, but young master's body was precious, so he had a rest. Along the way, he noticed that the area was safe. At the same time, he removed some signal equipment. Pata, sir, give me some food. A beggar laid on the ground. Who knew who it was, but when someone passed, he would reach out and grab their shoes. He would call them sir and give them some food. Lin Fan lowered his head. Gozi wanted to push the beggar to the side, but when he saw that face, he was shocked. Young master, he looks like Liang Yongqi. When the beggar heard someone call his name, his body shook. He raised his head, and when he saw Lin Fan's face, tears flowed out. Lin Fan was stunned. He didn't expect to see Liang Yongqi here. Truthfully, in his mind, he thought of many futures for Liang Yongqi. The most likely one was that he would return to Yu City and realize that everyone was dead. From then on, he would work hard to become strong and become an expert. Then, he would have many fortuitous encounters. On a certain day, he would proudly step in the air. But looking at the current situation, there was no connection at all. As expected, it was all a lie. How could there be so many fortuitous encounters? But based on what he knew, Liang Yongqi was martial path grade 4. Even if he was in a bad state, he wouldn't become a beggar, right? Chapter 411. At the tea stall, Liang Yongqi buried his head in the food in front of him. A cup of tea, a bun, he was really wolfing it down. Go Z couldn't bear to see him like that. What did he go through to become like that? Lin Fan didn't ask about the exact situation. He didn't need to say anything and just wanted him to eat more. It looked like he hadn't eaten in a long time. But he didn't understand something. Logically speaking, such a thing shouldn't have happened. Liang Yongqi's cultivation wasn't high, but he was at martial path grade 4. He was much better than normal people. So how could he be in such a tragic state? Liang Yongqi munched on the steamed bun with each bite, followed by a cup of tea. After eating 10 steamed buns in a row, he burped and leaned back against the chair. He raised his head as if he was trying to regain his senses. Slow down, don't be so anxious. Lin Fan was really afraid that Liang Yongqi would eat one bun at a time and choke his throat. Liang Yongqi drank a mouthful of tea. I am okay. I am full. In the past, Liang Yongqi was a rich family young master and had never felt like he couldn't eat his fill. He also rarely ate buns and usually ate all sorts of delicacies. When had he ever eaten such useless things? Lin Fan asked directly. Where did you go after leaving Martial Path Mountain? Although your cultivation isn't high, you shouldn't be in such a bad state. You actually became a beggar and didn't even have food to eat. Liang Yongqi sighed. It is a long story. I have never thought about and didn't dare to imagine what happened during this period of time. After leaving Martial Path Mountain, I headed to Yu City, but the situation there was really as you said. The Alliance had already occupied it. I was too weak, and if I was noticed, I would be dead, so I didn't dare to stand out. He said a lot about what he went through after arriving at Yu City. The rough meaning was clear. It was indeed tragic. Liang Yongqi didn't find any corpses of his family. At the same time, that place was too dangerous and the Alliance was patrolling. His cultivation was also so weak, so he didn't dare to behave arrogantly against the Alliance. He headed back the way he came. Along the way, he faced some problems and some bandits. Martial Path Grade 4 seemed pretty good, but in front of the robbers, he was just an ordinary person without any strength. Not only was he robbed of all his silver, but he was also beaten up because his silver did not meet the requirements of the robbers. If that was all, it would have been fine. He had also encountered danger in the wilderness. It could be said that it was a narrow escape from death. When he escaped from danger, he was already powerless and had even suffered some injuries. Along with his city being destroyed, who knew if his father and the others were dead or alive? His heart exploded at that moment. He was prepared to wait for his death. Lin Fan and Go Zi exchanged glances with one another. They felt pity for Liang Yongqi. Unlucky, really too unlucky. Yongqi, no matter what, you are the grand disciple of Martial Path Mountain. You suffered so much outside. As the sect leader, my heart hurts, but it is okay. It is good that you are back. In the future, to stay in Martial Path Mountain and don't think so much. Lin Fan consoled him. What else could he do? What had happened had already happened. It was good that he was fine. It was more important that he was alive. Woo woo woo. Liang Yongqi cried. Maybe because he had gone through those things, his heart collapsed. When he saw Lin Fan and the others, he couldn't help but tear up. Go Zi consoled. He patted Liang Yongqi's back and comforted him. What a pitiful kid. Young Master Liang, who could challenge his young master in Yu City in the past, was finished. Suddenly, Lin Fan noticed a problem. Originally, Liang Yongqi didn't have any faith in him, but at this moment, Liang Yongxi actually had faith in him, although it was the lowest grade of gray faith. But it was enough to show that it was a good start. However, the formation of faith was a little weird. He didn't do anything, so how did it appear? Was it because he suffered too much outside, and he was like a god descending from the heavens, giving Liang Yongxi hope, which was why faith was formed? That was possible. Maybe when he had a chance, he had to study it. Look, a grown man is actually crying. He's so ugly. At this moment, an unfriendly voice spread out from the side. Lin Fan looked out. An old man brought 3 young men. The one who spoke was a girl who pointed at Liang Yongqi's actions like she was mocking him. The old man didn't stop them. After looking at Lin Fan and the others, he didn't care much. As for the other 2 guys, they smiled but didn't say anything. They didn't want to come to the tea stall and were just passing by. When Lin Fan heard her words, he was a little annoyed. Liang Yongqi was the grand disciple of Martial Path Mountain, and an outsider dared to mock him. That was the same as mocking Martial Path Mountain. If this was in the past, he wouldn't bother with a little girl like her. But it was different now. He was determined to develop Martial Path Mountain, and that was a serious matter, especially Liang Yongqi's identity. To others, it might not be much, but in Martial Path Mountain, it was different. So what if I am crying? What does it have to do with you? No matter how ugly I am, I'm not as ugly as you. Lin Fan looked at her and didn't give her any face at all. The entire place was silent. The people who were about to walk into the distance stopped. The girl didn't expect him to dare to retort. Her face flushed red from rage. The old man squinted and stared at Lin Fan. Young man, speak less. Don't cause trouble with your words. Kiki. Lin Fan glanced. This isn't the first time I caused trouble with my words. But the so-called trouble has already reached the heavens. Who knows what kind of trouble you're talking about? When he was in U City, he was so stubborn because his father supported him and allowed him to do whatever he wanted. But now, he didn't need anyone to support him. That was because his own strength was enough to solve most things. As for things that he couldn't solve, people like Zhu Daoshan would appear. But now that he was at Dao Realm Stage 2 and Control Dimension, it wouldn't be easy to kill him. As long as he wanted to run, without 3 or 4 top experts stopping him, they wouldn't be able to stop him. You are asking to die. The 2 young guys standing behind the old man couldn't take it anymore. This young man actually dared to be so arrogant. He was just asking to die. But just as they were prepared to move, the old man stopped them. The old man said, "Kid, don't you think that you are a little hot-tempered? Young people should be low profile, especially when you're still young. Otherwise, you will just bring unnecessary problems to yourself." Shortly after, the old man laughed. I didn't expect that I would actually talk so much to a kid. This is your luck. Lin Fan looked on quietly as the old man acted cool. He didn't expose him and didn't say anything. He wanted to see how long the old man was going to act for. Not to mention anything else, he just felt that the old man was a little arrogant. Are you done? Lin Fan asked. The old man's expression changed, and it was obvious that he was stunned by those words. For some reason, the old man even wanted to spit out a mouthful of blood. Those words were just too infuriating. The 2 young men standing behind the old man clenched their fists and green veins appeared on their necks. They were so furious that they wanted to punch Lin Fan to death. Too much. This was just too much. They hated people who were arrogant in front of them, especially people who were so arrogant. They were just animals. Kid, do you know who this is? If you don't, I can tell you that this is Celestial Ascending Sect's Elder Zhang Xian. He is really strong, and to be able to talk to you about all this is already your good fortune. Not only do you not cherish it, but you even dare to provoke him? When the guy introduced the old man, for some reason, he straightened his back. He was talking about someone else, but it gave one a feeling like he was introducing him. Celestial Ascending Sect? Lin Fan had never heard of this sect. At the same time, he was a little confused. This place wasn't under any sect's control. Although it was the Imperial Dynasty's territory, the Imperial Dynasty didn't really control this place. So, why did Celestial Ascending Sect come here? Were they here to snatch territory? It was tough to say that there was no such possibility. Celestial Ascending Sect Zhang Xian is an elder. So is your Celestial Ascending Sect a top sect? Lin Fan asked. He had to understand the background of Celestial Ascending Sect. If it was a top sect, then he had to be more serious. But if it was a mid-tier sect, then he didn't have to be so serious. Zhang Xian said, top sect is just how the outside world defines it. But you are right, Celestial Ascending Sect is indeed a top sect. So, you should understand that even in the wilderness, you might meet people you can't afford to offend. I see that you're still young, so I don't want to bully you. Kneel down and apologize to my disciple, and I will let this matter rest. The girl was unhappy. Master, he insulted me, and even if I kowtow, it won't be able to calm my hurt heart. I want to keep him by my side and make him my servant. Junior sister, what is the point of keeping this kid by your side? The guy said. He didn't want a guy to stay by her side, as it would be really inconvenient. When Go Zi heard their words, he looked at them with a dark and sunken gaze. These people actually treated young master like a lamb for them to slaughter. He really couldn't take it. If young master didn't tell him to attack, he definitely wouldn't have been able to stop himself from teaching them a lesson. As for that old man's cultivation, he might have been much stronger than him, but he didn't fear it at all. Liang Yongqi stopped crying. At the same time, he was a little stunned. What was going on with these people? He was just crying. Could it be that he couldn't even cry now? Moreover, he didn't know them and was a little far away. He was mocked just like that. So who did he offend? Now that the sect leader had a conflict with them. As the grand disciple, he should jump out to protect the sect leader's honor. But he knew his place. He was too weak. It was best if he didn't lose face. P.S. I recommend a new history book. The title is Hanxi Official. The author is Old Zhua. I won't introduce it. It is said to be vicious, really vicious. Chapter 412. Lin Fan looked at the old man. Old man, I think that you're a reasonable person and I don't want to bother about this matter. Tell your disciple to kowtow and apologize to him, and we will let this matter rest. I don't want to pursue this matter. He thought about it for a moment. This old man didn't do anything too much from the start, but there was one thing that he couldn't forgive. That was because Celestial Ascending Sect was a top sect. As long as they were top sects, they would be beaten up. Not only because of this matter, but also because of City and some other people at the defense line. When the defense line and the alliance were at war, no top sects came out. Now that the defense line was broken and the imperial dynasty changed, these so-called top sects came out. Just thinking about it made him furious. Zhang Xian was stunned by Lin Fan's words. It was like he didn't expect that. Kid, I've been telling you so much, and you still don't cherish it. Do you really think that I am patient? Zhang Xian was furious. He didn't say so much to this kid for anything else. He just wanted to feel how it felt to be worshipped by juniors. Many people wanted to experience such a feeling. Unfortunately, to experience such a feeling, one needed strength. So, based on what you're saying, I am patient. Lin Fan squinted, and a terrifying aura exploded from his body. At the same time, he activated his domain, and the color of the surrounding sky changed. Everything turned gray. A huge pressure pressed down on their bodies. The old man frowned. The faces of the three young people behind him turned white, and they broke out in a cold sweat. But very quickly, the old man came to his senses and helped them block the pressure. Lin Fan got up and said, "Let me introduce you. This person who was insulted by your disciple is the grand disciple of my sect, and I am the sect leader. She insulted me like that, and that is the same as slapping my face. My request is simple. Kneel down and admit your mistakes, and I will let this matter rest." Zhang Xian said, "I didn't expect that I would be wrong." His words sounded very calm, but he was actually very shocked, because Lin Fan's age was simply too young. It's not that you're wrong. It's because your sect leader is a very low-profile person. And your high profile makes me really unhappy. Initially, I wanted to let it go, but you guys wanted more. Lin Fan said. The woman was a little nervous. Master, Zhang Xian raised his hand. Don't worry. You are my beloved disciple. So how can you suffer like this? These words allowed the woman to heave a sigh of relief. At the same time, she raised her head proudly and glared at Lin Fan in displeasure. It was as though she was saying, "So what? My master is protecting me. What do you do to me? As for wanting me to kneel down, you better stop dreaming." This was something that was impossible to achieve. Lin Fan was extremely displeased with the way the girl was looking at him. He touched his face. Could it be that after his strength increased, his looks changed so that others would think that he was a pushover? Well, that was very likely. Therefore, Lin Fan did not want to say anything more. Gathering his might together, he avoided the old man and headed straight for the woman. Kacha! There was the sound of something breaking. The old man's barrier around the woman shattered. "You dare!" When the old man realized this, he was instantly enraged. It was as if he hadn't expected that the other party would dare to do such a thing. Bang! The woman let out a miserable shriek. Unable to withstand the pressure, her knees buckled and she knelt on the ground. As for the two guys beside her, their faces were ashen white from fear. They didn't dare to believe everything that was happening in front of them. Oh my God, what was happening? Just a moment ago, they actually wanted to teach this arrogant kid a lesson. From the looks of it now, it was obvious that he had been looking for *T the whole time. Why wouldn't I dare? Lin Fan reached out, and the dimension in front of him ripped open. Shortly after, his palm appeared above the woman's head. He opened his fingers and grabbed. He grabbed her and pulled her right in front of him. The change in the blink of an eye caused the old man's expression to change, and he exclaimed, "Dao Realm Stage 2. The moment Lin Fan ripped open the dimension, the old man realized that the situation was a little off. It seemed like that was the case. "Master, save me." The girl cried and shouted. Lin Fan frowned. Crying is so annoying. Gozi understood right away. He took off his shoes and then his socks. He pried open her mouth and stuffed the socks in. The socks weren't white and were a little black. They were so black that they shone. "Gozi," Lin Fan looked at Gozi in shock. He really didn't expect Gozi to be so sharp. He didn't say a word and just took off the socks and stuffed them into her mouth. Not to mention anything else, this girl looked decent. It was just that her personality was a little annoying. Lin Fan didn't know how to take care of the fairer sex, but he definitely wouldn't torture her like that. Who knew that not only did Gozi not know how to take care of the fairer sex, but he was also so overbearing. He was so amazing that it made one speechless. Junior sister, when the two guys saw those scenes, they felt their hearts hurt like someone was using a knife to stab their hearts. Such a dirty thing was actually placed into their junior sister's mouth. That was a place that they wanted to kiss, but were afraid of dirtying. The girl's expression was one of terror. Her pupils constricted and a really thick smell spread into her nose, causing her to nearly faint. Rage and embarrassment attacked her heart. With a loud explosion, she fainted and fell to the ground. From start to finish, Zhang Xian didn't say a single word and just witnessed everything. "Wait, I have something to say." Zhang Xian opened his mouth. When he found out that Lin Fan was at Dao Realm Stage 2, his thoughts changed. At the same time, he felt a burning pain on his face. He was indeed acting cool just now, but now that he was slapped in the face, he felt like he had lost all his face. Lin Fan retracted his aura, and everything returned to normal. As for the people in the tea stall, they had all fled. "What do you want to say? Just say it." Lin Fan looked at Zhang Xian and told him that he could speak. What he was thinking about was really simple and direct. Should he start a war with Celestial Ascending Sect? The overall strength of the top sects couldn't be underestimated. Once the war started, there would be no turning back. Only one side would die, but there was one more choice that was more stable, which was to kill the people in front of him. Celestial Ascending Sect would definitely investigate, and then they would send more people over. It would be like the Calabash brothers saving their grandfather. Zhang Xian's expression was solemn. "I am apologizing on behalf of my disciple. This was just a small matter, so there is no need for us to fight over such a small matter. My Celestial Ascending Sect has always been hospitable, so I am willing to be close friends with you." Lin Fan smiled. "Look at us now. Do you think we can be close friends?" Zhang Xian said. "As the saying goes, friends don't get to know each other without fighting. Friends are formed from conflicts." As for Zhang Xian, he finally understood what was going on. Lin Fan was really strong. Your words make sense. Lin Fan said. Zhang Xian continued. Whether it's logical or not, this old man doesn't understand. However, little friend's character and character are just too much to my taste. This evil disciple of mine has been spoiled by this old man to the point where he doesn't respect anyone. Now that he's been taught a lesson by little friend, this old man is really grateful. Damn, when a person was shameless, it was not something that an ordinary person could bear. For example, Zhang Xian was so shameless that one had to respect him. But one had to say that. One really couldn't tell whether or not Zhang Xian's expression was real or fake. Even Lin Fan was shocked. Was this person speaking the truth? Zhang Xian saw through Lin Fan's thoughts. Can you tell me your name? Lin Fan. Zhang Xian thought about it and couldn't think of anyone related to Lin Fan. He said, Brother Lin, you must be thinking about whether or not I really want to be friends with you. I understand that, but don't worry, I really want to get to know you. Whether or not it is true, time will reveal a person's heart. But I can swear that if I am lying, the heavens won't tolerate it. The way he swore was really touching, and one didn't doubt it at all. But these were just words. Even if he went against it, there wouldn't be any problems. Just like that, Lin Fan stared right at Zhang Xian and pondered in his heart. Just what should he do to get the most out of this? He had to think about this. Chapter 413. Luckily, Zhang Xian was the one who said that. If Lin Fan said that from the start, the two young men behind him would have jumped out and hollered in rage. You want to be my best friend? Why don't you look in the mirror and see what you look like? Of course, that was just what they thought at the start. As for now, there was no need to say anything. How would they dare to say all that? They were so frightened by Lin Fan that they didn't dare to say anything. They didn't even dare to fart. Zhang Xian felt goosebumps from Lin Fan's gaze. He felt like his gaze was filled with aggression, and it made him nervous. If he had to say what he regretted the most, it would be allowing his disciple to offend him. Looking at his disciple, he didn't know what to say. It was really intense. Not to mention his disciple. Even he could smell the sour smell from far away. Needless to say, his disciple who had it stuffed into his mouth must have gone through a really intense experience. Are you serious? Lin Fan felt like there were some things that he could make use of. For example, Zhang Xian. Looking at him, he knew his place and knew that he couldn't beat him, so he admitted defeat. However, he still wanted to maintain his last bit of pride. This was why becoming best friends was the best choice. Zhang Xian said, Of course, I am serious. As the saying goes, no discord leads to friendship. Let the past be the past. Moreover, Brother Lin, think about it. This is such a small matter. Lin Fan smiled. Okay, you are right. As the saying goes, no discord leads to friendship. However, I don't see any sincerity from you. If you can show some sincerity, then that would be for the best. Zhang Xian was stunned and panicked. He felt like something wasn't right. He then said nervously, Brother Lin, although my disciple is naughty and arrogant, he shouldn't die, right? Even if you want me to kill him, I can't do it. To Zhang Xian, Lin Fan's sincerity was definitely for him to kill his disciple. Oh my God, he felt that it was a little too much. His disciple was a little arrogant, but he didn't deserve to die. He just needed to teach him a lesson. There was no need to be so vicious. Moreover, he stuffed such a dirty sock into his mouth. Wasn't that punishment enough? Lin Fan was shocked by Zhang Xian's thoughts. What was he thinking? When did he say that he wanted to kill his disciple? What are you thinking? What did I say that I wanted to kill your disciple? My sincerity is that I lack a few Dao realm techniques. If you really want to be my friend, why don't you give me a few? Lin Fan said. Zhang Xian was stunned and muttered softly, Just kill my disciple. What did you say? Lin Fan frowned. He seemed to have heard Zhang Xian mutter something, but he couldn't hear it clearly. It's nothing. Zhang Xian shook his head. He was only thinking about it. How could he really do that? However, the other party's request was a little too much. He actually wanted a Dao realm technique. As an elder of Celestial Ascending Sect, naturally, he didn't lack techniques. But if he gave them to others and the sect found out, it would be problematic. If you don't even have this bit of sincerity, and you want to be my bosom buddy, then you're really not qualified. Lin Fan replied. Even if the other party didn't say anything, he still had a way to make him say it. It was just that his method was a little more violent. Therefore, he hoped that the other party would cherish this opportunity. He didn't want to regret it when he lost it. Zhang Xian's thoughts were a little complicated. How could he not understand what Lin Fan was thinking? Based on the current situation, Lin Fan obviously wanted the technique, so there was no point in saying anything more. He really wanted it. If he didn't give it to him, he might not be able to leave this place safely. He had met a tough one. Okay, I'm very generous to my friends. As long as they need it, I won't hesitate. Zhang Xian's words were firm, but his heart was filled with pain. Very quickly, Zhang Xian mentioned 3 Dao realm techniques. One really shouldn't underestimate Zhang Xian. As an elder of a top sect, his actions were really extraordinary. Brother Lin, what do you think of me? I gave it to you just like that. Aren't I generous? A smile appeared on Zhang Xian's face. Although it looked bright, behind that smile was deep sorrow and helplessness. Generous. I haven't seen anyone as generous as you in my life. Lin Fan praised. That was the truth. Anyway, out of all the people he had met, Zhang Xian was the most knowledgeable. Not bad at all. Zhang Xian smiled. Brother Lin, now we are good friends. Although we don't have a relationship, I believe that if we get to know each other, our relationship will be stronger than gold, and our friendship will last forever. The 2 guys standing behind him lowered their heads. Their eyes were a little stunned, and their mouths were slightly open. From the start till now, they didn't dare to say anything. The development of things was a little weird. Originally, as soon as the battle broke out, a great battle was about to break out. However, the situation suddenly took a turn for the worse. The elder actually took the initiative to become close friends with the other party. This situation was a little complicated. They felt like there was a story behind this. The elder's attitude was a little soft. Instantly, they thought about something terrifying. Did the elder feel like he wasn't his match, which was why he gave in? Thinking about it, that was really possible. Lin Fan thought about it for a moment. He didn't do anything to Zhang Xian. Sometimes, he needed to use his brain. Zhang Xian was a smart person and wasn't a fool. It was much easier to communicate with him like that. He needed rage points and also Dao realm techniques. Celestial Ascending Sect was a top sect, and Zhang Xian was an elder. In the future, as long as he did things well, it wouldn't be difficult to get techniques from Zhang Xian. Lin Fan gave a fake smile. Brother Zhang, you are right. We have to get to know each other slowly. Although we had some misunderstandings when we first met, misunderstandings will always be misunderstandings and won't become reality. I believe that we will become good friends. Plastic friendship started from the moment you lied through your teeth. Ying, Zhang Xian's female disciple, woke up. She was like a crying monster, giving out sounds that didn't sound like that of a human. The first thing she saw when she woke up was Lin Fan. She wanted to say something, but she felt like her mouth was stuffed full. There was also a strong smell that surged into her nose. She immediately took out the sock and began to vomit crazily. The more she vomited, the more she couldn't vomit. Then, she jumped up. Master, kill him, take revenge for me. When the 2 male disciples saw her like that, their hearts hurt. At the same time, they looked at her mouth. It was pink and so beautiful. But the thought of such beautiful lips being stained by dirty socks, they felt a wave of pain in their hearts. Zhang Xian's expression turned cold. He flung away his disciple's hand and scolded, "Disciple, shut up. Who do you want to kill by making such a ruckus? This is a good friend of mine. How can you behave like this?" Wong. When the girl heard these words, she felt her head buzz like it was about to explode. What was he saying? What was Master saying? Master, he treated me like that. So how can you not help me? The female lead cried, but when she thought about how Lin Fan stuffed the sock in her mouth because of her crying, she felt a chill down her spine. At the same time, she was terrified. Shut up. Zhang Xian hollered in rage. He is your senior, so you should call him Senior Lin. If you dare to be so arrogant, I will chase you out of the sect. From now on, you will no longer be my disciple. Zhang Xian's words were a little heavy. The girl was so terrified that her face turned ashen white. She was able to be so lawless because of her master's love. Other people let her because she had a good master. But if she was chased out, then she would have nothing in the future. She was unhappy, but that was just an emotional issue. If she didn't pay attention to this matter, not only would she have emotional problems, but she would also lose her master. Zhang Xian saw his disciple calm down and nodded his head in satisfaction. Go apologize to Senior Lin. Master, eh? Zhang Xian frowned and opened his eyes wide. It was obvious that rage was burning within. The girl walked in front of Lin Fan. Senior, I was wrong. Lin Fan felt great. He was being called senior at such a young age. Moreover, looking at her, she seemed to be a little older than him. He had been thinking about a question. Could one really be lawless with strength? Right? With strength, one could really be lawless. Lin Fan pointed at Liang Yongqi. It is useless to apologize to me. Apologize to him. The girl looked at Lin Fan and then at Liang Yongqi. I am sorry. When she said these words, her heart was bleeding. She really couldn't accept it. But she had no choice. Since Master had already spoken, how could she not listen to him? Gozi noticed that the way she looked at him was a little off. Maybe it was because he shoved the sock in her mouth. Lin Fan nodded his head in satisfaction, and not bad. You can learn from your mistakes. You didn't go down the wrong path. You have to pay attention in the future. Zhang Xian said, Did you hear Senior's teachings? Aren't you going to thank him? The girl really wanted to smash her head into the wall. Thank you, Senior. I will remember your teachings. Min, it was how Zhang Xian addressed this disciple. And not bad. In the future, don't mock others. Even if you do, you have to see whether or not you have the strength to do so. Lin Fan felt that acting cool felt really good. That feeling was really unimaginable. Minner had nothing to say. No matter what he said, she could only silently accept it. Who asked him to be her senior? Whatever he said was right. She couldn't offend him. She really couldn't. The two male disciples standing behind Zhang Xian were really envious of Lin Fan. It seemed like they were around the same age. Why was the gap so huge? It was really annoying. Lin Fan asked, Where are you all going? This was the main point that Lin Fan wanted to ask. P.S. My friend from afar is returning home, so I'm treating him to a meal. I won't drink. I will update tonight. Chapter 414. Brother Lin, this old man just wanted to bring my disciples out to have a look at the outside world, that's all. I wanted to let them experience the world and gain some experience. Now that I think about it, I feel that my way of thinking is just too right. This unfilial disciple of mine has been spoiled to the point of being lawless since young. If he doesn't encounter some things, some people will really be lawless in the future. Zhang Xian smiled. Naturally, he didn't say his true goal. He couldn't say that he was representing the sect to take a look at the situation. If no sect occupied this place, their celestial ascending sect would want to stretch their hands here. But he wasn't a fool. How could he not see that there was a problem here? This little brother, no, definitely not little brother, it should be Brother Lin. He appeared here and was a sect leader, so the situation was different. It was very likely that this piece of land had already been occupied by their sect. Currently, Brother Lin revealed that he was at Tao Realm Stage 2. That wasn't weak, and even in a top sect, he would be an upper-level elder. But don't forget about his age. Now that he had such cultivation at such a young age, naturally, he would be highly regarded. The experts of the sect would choose to give up their positions and allow such a talented disciple to become the sect leader. If their celestial ascending sect had such a talented and high cultivation disciple, then they would have handed over the position of sect leader. After all, his cultivation was enough to be the sect leader, and it wasn't embarrassing. Lin Fan smiled and muttered to himself. This Zhang Xian wasn't simple, and his words were really nice to listen to. What was the saying? I really liked this person. Not only was he fun, but his words were also nice to listen to. Min stood beside her master. She didn't want to say a single word. The situation had changed, and she didn't know what to say. Her master and Lin Fan were like good brothers for many years. Even she had to call him senior. She felt really wronged. Lin Fan said, young people need to see more and learn more. You will grow when you meet some things. Your disciple is really unruly and needs to be taught a lesson. If he causes trouble in the future, even you, as his master, might not be able to stop him. As expected, it was addictive to be called senior. Even the way he spoke had become more profound. Zhang Xian nodded his head. Yeah, Brother Lin's words make sense. The world is huge, and there are many experts. My disciple isn't strong, but he is really good at causing trouble. If he really offends an expert in the future, the outcome would be disastrous. Right now, these two people were very simple and clear. One dared to speak, and the other dared to reply. That was basically the case. The tea stall was empty. Lin Fan and Zhang Xian sat there facing each other. The two of them were like old friends, chatting happily and bragging about the problems of the younger generation. The two men behind Zhang Xian listened from start to finish, sizing up Lin Fan from time to time. Then, they looked at their junior sister. All of a sudden, there was a special feeling in their hearts. The more time passed, the more they felt that the gap between them was getting bigger. Damn, we're all about the same age, so why are you so outstanding, while we can only be taught a lesson by you like juniors? It's really incomprehensible. Suddenly, the atmosphere was a little quiet. Zhang Xian and Lin Fan looked at one another. Both of them didn't say a word and just looked at each other silently. The silent conversation between the two of them naturally made the kids around them not dare to speak. They didn't even dare to breathe loudly. Brother Lin, where's your sect located? I would like to pay a visit. Zhang Xian smiled and asked. His smile was filled with good intentions, like he was saying that he didn't have any other thoughts and just wanted to head over to take a look. Lin Fan smiled. Brother Zhang, do you want to know where my sect is because you want to bring people from Celestial Ascending Sect to trample my sect? Zhang Xian was stunned. It was obvious that he hadn't expected Lin Fan to say that. He then burst out laughing. Brother Lin, your joke isn't funny at all. How am I such a person? Since I want to be friends with Brother Lin, naturally, I want to get closer to you. Lin Fan said, Oh, I was just joking. But forget about the sect. Brother Zhang just needs to tell me the location of Celestial Ascending Sect. If I have the chance in the future, naturally, I will head over to your place to reminisce. The two of them looked at one another and smiled. Then they calmed down. Slowly, their faces became expressionless, and they didn't say a single word. No one knew what the conversation between the two of them meant, but it felt a little weird. Lin Fan thought about it. Zhang Xian definitely couldn't know where Martial Path Mountain was. With their current strength, they weren't strong enough. If they really wanted to attack Martial Path Mountain, then they could only run. This was why before their strength reached a certain level, he definitely wouldn't tell him where the sect was. Zhang Xian's thoughts were similar to Lin Fan's. What did he mean? He didn't tell him where the sect was, but he wanted to know where Celestial Ascending Sect was. Did he want to bring people from his sect to find out more about Celestial Ascending Sect? If he realized that Celestial Ascending Sect wasn't as strong as his, then he wanted to attack? This was why Zhang Xian didn't want to tell him where Celestial Ascending Sect was. Before they understood each other's situation, that was what both of them were thinking. Haha, Brother Lin is right. But as they say, it is fate that we meet. This fate is really magical and subtle. I think that our fate hasn't been destroyed. Even if we don't know where our sects are, we will still meet in the future. Don't you think so? Zhang Xian said. He wouldn't fall for Lin Fan's tricks. If you don't say it, then I won't say it. As for who would take it seriously, it would depend on who couldn't take it anymore. Yes, Brother Zhang is absolutely right. Lin Fan smiled and agreed with Zhang Xian's words. Anyway, he didn't lose out this time and got what he wanted. It was already not bad that he got 3 Dao realm techniques. Why did he have to think so much? Moreover, it was about time, and he didn't want to continue talking to him. Go where you need to go. Don't waste my time here. Then now, Zhang Xian thought about it. Forget it. He would just treat it as using 3 Dao realm techniques to buy his life. Moreover, he felt like there was no point in staying here, so why not just go their separate ways? But he didn't say those words. He felt like it wasn't a good thing for him to say it. It was like he didn't care much about this relationship. Lin Fan didn't care and said directly, Why don't we just forget it? I still have some things to do. If there's a chance, we will meet again. Okay, then I won't disturb Brother Lin. If there is a chance, I will definitely invite Brother Lin to Celestial Ascending Sect. Zhang Xian said. Sure, sure. Lin Fan smiled and waved his hands to tell Zhang Xian to scram. He felt like keeping this fellow alive was much better than killing him. Very quickly, Zhang Xian and the others left. Lin Fan looked in the direction that Zhang Xian and the others left in and was in deep thought. Now that sects were moving around, it was easy to bump into people from sections. Especially the top sects, they were really active. Thinking about it, it made sense. Now that many top sects occupied land and expanded their territory, naturally, they would all be active. Young master, will anything happen if we let them go just like that? Go Zi asked softly. Liang Yongqi looked at Go Zi in shock. He realized that Go Zi had changed. He was a servant in the past, but now he seemed really confident. Facing such a strong expert, he was still able to remain calm. If Go Zi knew what Liang Yongqi was thinking, he would definitely holler. Listen up. I'm no longer the Go Zi of the past. I'm a domain realm Go Zi, so please show some respect. Maybe it would shock Liang Yongqi to death. Lin Fan said, nothing will happen. This person is quite smart. It is just that it will be a little tiring to deal with him in the future. That was what he was thinking. That was indeed the case. After a short conversation with him, he knew that he wasn't a fool. Rage points plus 333. Where did the rage points come from? Did that fellow provide him with rage points after he left? That was possible. In the distance. Master, why do we have to be so polite to such a person? How can our celestial ascending sect be afraid of him? Min was really unhappy. Till now, she was still thinking about how Lin Fan shoved the sock into her mouth. A humiliation that she wouldn't be able to forget for the rest of her life. One had to say, Go Zi's sock was really smelly. It was so smelly that normal people wouldn't be able to take it. Didn't you see how the girl fainted from the smell? It was really tragic. I was afraid that all of you would die there. Zhang Xian looked at his disciple. Her eyes were just too weak. Till now, she still didn't understand the situation. Min said unwillingly, with Master here, what do we have to be afraid of? The two male disciples standing behind the old man didn't dare to say anything. Although they didn't see everything clearly, they seemed to have understood something. Even an elder needed to speak nicely to Lin Fan. That could only mean one thing. Lin Fan's strength couldn't be underestimated. Even an elder didn't dare to be careless. You, Master is about to be angered to death by you. Do you really think that he is so ordinary at such a young age? Or do you really think that I'm so amazing? If I didn't do that, your life would be in the hands of others. Zhang Xian was helpless. He didn't notice in the past, but now that he came out, he realized that his disciple's intelligence made him worry. There was a saying that went like this. Whether it was a donkey or a horse, it was fine. Who knew that when he brought his disciple out for a stroll, he would realize that his disciple was a retard. Forgive him for speaking so bluntly as a master. But he had no choice, as that was what he really thought. Minner was shocked like she didn't expect Master to say such words. Zhang Xian didn't want to scold his disciple, so he said nicely, Disciple, after this matter, it is time for you to grow up. There is always someone stronger. Celestial Ascending Sect is strong, but there are many stronger ones. Even I might not be able to protect you. To be able to use 3 Tao realm techniques in exchange for your life is something to be thankful about. Actually, there was something he didn't say. These 3 secret manuals could be considered to have saved his life as a master. Of course, he wouldn't say that. If not, he would lose all his face. P.S. I recommend a business novel called Salted Fish's Strategy to Save Oneself. Doing short videos to reach the peak of life. If you're interested, you could take a look. Chapter 415. Bumping into Liang Yongqi on the way was a decent thing. At least he didn't die outside. But if he was a little later, he was thinking that Liang Yongqi might really have starved to death by the side of the road. Liang Yongqi was still too weak. Even if he had initial faith power, it was still really weak. If he relied on himself to cultivate, he had no hope at all. If he could raise the faith power to the peak, Maybe he could become an expert like Gozi. But this path wasn't easy either. The faith path didn't look at talent or comprehension. It depended on whether or not one knew how to suck up. For example, Gozi and Cousin were both really loyal to him. Since they got the Darkness Chief God's God domain and opened up the faith path, they used the peak faith power to connect with him. The feedback they received was really rich too. 2 purple lines of faith, one of them was Gozi and the other was definitely his cousin. Gozi couldn't handle his strongest power, but Cousin definitely could. Cousin was really talented and obtained many fortuitous encounters. His power was then transmitted through the purple faith. With the current situation, Cousin's cultivation was enough to reach Tao Realm Stage 1. No matter where Tao Realm Stage 1 was, he had the ability to protect himself. As long as he didn't face those terrifying people, he would be fine. A few days later, the Alliance started to move. What Lin Fan did in Valley City infuriated the Alliance. Their hands couldn't reach that far. It was too dangerous to gather too many people to head to a place that the Alliance couldn't control. Such a large-scale invasion wasn't in the Alliance's territory, so it was a little problematic. Lin Fan's age was a problem for them. He was too young and was also really strong. If he was left alive, he would be a problem, and it was just too dangerous. In the words of the Alliance, they had to pull out the roots, and it was best if they killed him. But based on the Alliance's predictions, Lin Fan's overall strength was really strong. Mao Shintai wanted to kill the kid, but failed. Although Lin Fan didn't deal any damage to Mao Shintai, his ability to withstand pressure was really strong. This was why the Alliance wanted to use the top sex to make them feel pressured. They wanted to work together to kill this monster that even the Alliance cared about. But things didn't seem to be what the Alliance thought. They told the top sex about this matter, and at the same time, they told them about Lin Fan's situation. But what they didn't expect was that the top sex were really calm, and there was nothing wrong at all. Damn it, the Alliance didn't understand what was going on. Actually, it wasn't that there was a problem with the Alliance's news, or that the top sex didn't receive the news. When the top sex received the news, those people immediately went to report the situation to the elders. He was afraid. He was just 20 years old, and his cultivation was at stage 2. Moreover, he was Lin Wani's son. That was just too shocking, and it nearly scared one to death. But the result was something that no one had expected. No matter which sex elder saw this news, they were not shocked, but furious. With a kick, he sent the messenger flying. The meaning was clear. Do you think you're an idiot, or do you think we're idiots? Use your pig brain to think about this content. See if it's possible, and if it's worthy of others believing. The person who was reprimanded by the elder was a little stunned. That was indeed the case. Thinking about it carefully, it seemed a little impossible. No, it wasn't just impossible, it was absolutely impossible. He didn't think much about it. A 20-year-old Tao Realm Stage 2, that was something he had never heard of before. Even if he started cultivating in his mother's womb, that was impossible. Most of the top sex had a thought, which was that the person who spread the news had ulterior motives. Lin Wani wasn't dead yet, and they wanted them to kill his son. Wasn't that just a trap? Lin Wani only had one son, and if he died to their hands, they would definitely take revenge on him. To the top sex, they didn't even need to think to know who did it. Apart from that damn Alliance, who else could it be? Damn, even if they wanted to borrow someone's hand to kill someone, they had to find a good reason. Did they really think that the top sex were fools? Thus, this matter became really awkward. They had no choice. The Alliance wanted to know the reason, but they didn't understand. They just felt that Lin Fan was too hard to find, and they couldn't find him in a short period of time. What they didn't know was that their actions had caused the top sex to hate them. Even some of the top sex that they worked with in the past. They only had one thought in their hearts. Scammer. Young master, the sky is about to turn dark. Let's find a place to rest. Gozi looked at the sky. It was getting late, and when the sky turned dark, if they didn't find a place to stay, then they would have to sleep outside. Lin Fan replied. Actually, he could have gone back long ago, but he didn't and just looked around. The main thing was to remember the surrounding environment so that when he occupied land, he would know where it was. But there was something that disappointed him. He actually didn't find anyone who could develop faith in him. The world seemed really calm, but he knew that a storm was brewing and no one could stop it. The four alliances were fine because they knew that the final enemy was the alliance. As for the imperial dynasty, they didn't care much about it. The imperial dynasty was just a puppet. King Wudong's rebellion succeeded, but who knew how many people he lost? Moreover, no one knew where the original imperial dynasty experts went, and they didn't stay to fight the alliance. Some people said that they hid in the forest, but most sects felt that they definitely didn't. They were just gathering somewhere and waiting for a chance. It smells so good, Lin Fan said. The sky turned dark, but a fragrance wafted over from the distance. Liang Yongji was hungry again. It had been a long time since he had eaten, especially meat, which was a luxury for him. His dog, Nose, could smell the fragrance of meat with just a sniff. It is meat. It is meat from wild animals, Liang Yongqi said. He looked into the distance, and he could see some flames. It was obvious that it was in front of him. Your nose is really amazing. Lin Fan looked at Liang Yongqi. Maybe it was a special ability that he trained outside for a period of time. Liang Yongqi scratched his head in embarrassment and smiled. But his expression was one of anticipation. He was anticipating meat. Very quickly, the flames got closer and closer. The people around seemed to have heard movement and were nervous. Their bodies tensed up, and one could even hear the sound of weapons being drawn. But when they saw that Lin Fan and the others were all young, they heaved a sigh of relief. They were all young, and they thought about one another. Their strength was about the same, and they shouldn't be a threat. Lin Fan looked at the people around the fire. They were all really young, and of course, their cultivations were really weak. 2 guys and 1 girl. The 2 guys were normal, but truthfully, they were really outstanding. But to Lin Fan, that was it. After all, Lin Fan was a narcissistic person and always thought that he was outstanding. One had to say that the girl was really beautiful. Her aura was extraordinary, and she didn't look like a normal person. But to Lin Fan, he had seen way too many girls. He had always maintained a good attitude. He wouldn't say that he hated girls, but he definitely wouldn't say that he liked girls either. He was just so calm. At that moment, when Lin Fan looked at them, the 2 guys and 1 girl looked at him too. Maybe they were sizing each other up. At the same time, one of the guys said softly, "Be careful. We don't know where they came from, so don't be careless." The guy who said this was called Chun Feng, and he was the shortest here. At most, he was 165 meters tall. His eyes were bright, and he was really cunning. Maybe our sister-in-law is too beautiful. Even in the middle of the night, she could attract 3 wolves. I hope they don't ask to be humiliated. Otherwise, I don't mind teaching them a lesson. Junior brother, watch your words. They're just passing by and didn't do anything. It isn't good to guess randomly. The handsome guy sitting beside the girl said. He got up and cupped his fists. I am Fei. My junior brother is rude, so please don't mind him. Lin Fan smiled calmly. It is okay. Go Z gathered the wood and started a fire. As for Liang Yongqi, he stared at the wild boar on the fire. His throat moved, and he was about to drool. Chen Feng then muttered in a low voice, "Senior brother, look at that guy's eyes. He's staring straight at him. I told you, this group of people are definitely not good people. They might even harbor evil intentions. Stop talking. They're just looking at the meat. Go and give some to them." He Fei said, "Listen to me and don't throw a tantrum." Chen Feng was helpless. He wasn't willing to give food to these unknown people. Moreover, the way they looked at his sister-in-law was a little different. That was what he thought. As for whether or not that was the case, it was hard to say. He had no choice. Chen Feng sliced some meat from the boar, but He Fei stopped him. He scolded him for being stingy. He sliced off a leg and told him to send it over. Chen Feng pouted. Although he was a little unhappy, he still walked towards Lin Fan and passed the meat over. "Here, my senior brother gave it to you." He stared at Liang Yongqi in rage. "Watch your eyes and don't look around. That is my sister-in-law, my senior brother's wife. She isn't someone you can think about." Liang Yongqi was stunned. "Look at your sister?" "I'm looking at the meat." Lin Fan nodded towards He Fei like he was thanking him. Chen Feng saw that Liang Yongqi's gaze shifted and thought that he listened to him. He didn't care much and turned around to leave. "Senior brother, I have already warned that kid. Don't worry, he doesn't dare to look at you. If he does, I will teach him a lesson, Chun Feng said. You. The girl smiled bitterly and shook her head. She knew that he wasn't looking at her, but at the meat in front of them. But she didn't say anything. At the same time, she heaved a sigh of relief, like she was glad that they were just normal people. P.S. I recommend a book called The Unqualified Demon King. Old Huang's book is guaranteed. All of you can go take a look. Chapter 416. If you want to eat, then eat. There is no need to look at me. Lin Fan saw that Liang Yongqi was staring at him. From the glow in his eyes, what else could he think? Naturally, he wanted to eat meat. As the grand disciple of Martial Path Mountain, his status was naturally high. But regretfully, he was facing the sect leader, and beside him was the sect leader's servant. They were much higher than him. This was why the sect leader didn't say anything. He didn't dare to eat. When he heard the sect leader's words, Liang Yongqi didn't hold back anymore. He wolfed down the meat. His mouth was covered in grease like a dumb son of a rich family. Thinking back to the past, Liang Yongqi was a famous playboy in Yu City. The fan in his hand gave off a noble aura. But now, the changes were huge. His aura was totally gone, and what replaced it was the aura of a refugee. In the past, if the meat in his hand wasn't sliced and placed on exquisite plates, he wouldn't even be able to look at it, much less eat it. Lin Fan picked up a piece and placed it in his mouth. It tasted good. Yifei looked at Lin Fan and the others. Lin Fan looked weak, especially Gozi, who looked like a servant. This was why he treated Lin Fan like a noble young master. As for Liang Yongqi, there was no need to talk about him. His clothes were dirty, and he ate like he hadn't eaten in a long time. Such a combination was really weird. All of a sudden, he didn't know how to describe it. Brother, where did you come from? Yifei asked. I don't think he's that good. He was talking about Liang Yongqi. After all, he was dressed like that, and it was really weird. Lin Fan smiled. I came from Valley City. He wasn't lying. He did come from Valley City. I have never been to Valley City. It seems like we are heading in the opposite direction. Looking at your aura, you should be from a rich family in Valley City. After all, you have servants to take care of you. Yifei and Lin Fan talked normally. At the same time, he asked about his background. Lin Fan said, No, I was from a rich family in the past, but not anymore. I'm just a normal person. Yifei said, I am sorry, I asked too much. To Yifei, he understood that Lin Fan was indeed a rich family disciple. However, his family was in trouble, and he became a normal person and ended up here. Because of such a reply, he could understand why Liang Yongqi was like that. He definitely faced many problems along the way, and because Lin Fan was the young master, he naturally had to give all the good things to the young master. Naturally, he didn't feel anything wrong with Lin Fan. Instead, he felt that these two servants were truly loyal to Lin Fan. Even in such a situation, they still didn't abandon him. He had naturally heard of such a situation, but he had never seen it before. Lin Fan smiled, indicating that it was okay. The other party was probably thinking too much. However, he was really just a normal person without any good points. The only thing that wasn't too ordinary was his strength. In fact, he did not want to bear too much burden. Cultivation was not in his nature. His dream had always been to be a quiet young master of a rich family and live a comfortable life. It was a pity that things didn't go as he wished. He was constantly spurred on by others. Chun Feng muttered softly, Senior brother, why are you talking so much to them? They're just normal people and don't fit in with us. Moreover, our situation isn't good either. If they are with us, they might not be able to run away. They're just normal people, so we won't drag them down. Moreover, even if they come, they might not be able to do anything to us. Yifei said. With Lin Fan's strength, naturally, he heard what they said. He was really calm. The feeling of being a normal person was really good. It was really good to be young. It was easy to fool others. The night was really quiet and nothing else happened yet. Suddenly, Lin Fan opened his eyes. He had heard the commotion. It was obvious that the other party was trying to hide their presence. However, they were simply too weak. So weak that it left him speechless. If he had to describe it, if Lin Fan was a dragon that knew how to fly, then these people who were making noises were just ants that knew how to crawl. He looked towards He-Fei. He hadn't noticed. Maybe he wasn't that strong, so he didn't hear anything. After a while, He-Fei finally reacted. He got up and said softly, "They are here." Chun Feng and the girl looked around warily. "I finally found all of you." A voice spread from the distance. In the blink of an eye, several people stepped on the tree branches, leaving behind many afterimages. They appeared in front of He-Fei and the others. "Young Master," Go Zi frowned. He wanted to kill these people who disturbed Young Master's rest, but Young Master stopped him and told him not to be rash. He-Fei said softly, "Brother, this is our matter and has nothing to do with you. All of you should retreat, and we won't drag all of you into this." "Little miss, the chief ordered us to bring you back," the male in the lead said. Chun Feng said, "My sister-in-law won't follow you back. Just give up on that thought." "Junior brother, come back," He-Fei said, and then looked at him. "Your little miss and I are willing, so I hope that you can let us go." "Preposterous," the male raged. "We have already investigated. You are just a disciple of a mid-tier sect, and you actually dare to touch our little Mississippi. Even your sect leader doesn't dare to be so arrogant in front of our chief." "Young Master, do you need to help them?" Go Zi asked softly. The main reason was that He-Fei was respectful towards Young Master. Since he had the ability, naturally he was willing to help. "Wait, these people aren't their match," Lin Fan said. Very quickly, maybe because both sides didn't come to an agreement, or maybe they didn't want to talk at all, they started to fight. He-Fei was decent and was at Master Realm. As for the man from what race, he was at Grandmaster Realm. But to reach Grandmaster Realm at such a young age, he was just too weak. There were no scenes of heaven and earth being split open or space-shattering. It was just a clash of swords and blades. Occasionally, there would be bright light exploding. To Lin Fan, this was like someone who was used to seeing top special effects but returned to normal scenes. He-Fei was a realm lower than him, and logically speaking, he shouldn't have been able to win. But he could see that He-Fei's accumulation was really shocking, especially along with the girl's attacks. He was able to suppress the guy. To them, this battle was just too intense. In the end, He-Fei used a fist technique, and the guy exclaimed, returning to true, and was punched away. This is what a young person should experience. As for me, Lin Fan was really focused on the battle, like he was recalling something. He felt a little sad. Lin Fan was thinking about what he had experienced when he was weak and small. All right, he went to Jiang City to experience it. When he had nothing to do, he would farm demon rage points. Very quickly, his strength increased. Truthfully speaking, he really envied those people who could stay in the same realm for a few years and fight with young people of the same generation. Really, he really envied them. Unlike now, as long as they were young, there was no joy in fighting. He could only fight with a bunch of old men every day, and there was no sense of experience at all. He really hoped that he could turn back time and be like the few young people in front of him, to fight with people of similar age and be shocked. He actually cultivated this technique to returning to true realm. No, you're actually in the Tao realm, and you've even condensed 77 Tao patterns. That pain was unimaginable. Why? Why did they do that to him? He didn't want to cultivate so quickly. He was in so much pain. At that moment, the girl stopped Chin Feng and said viciously, "Let them go." But sister-in-law, Chin Feng wanted to kill all of them. Leaving them alive was just a problem in the future. But the girl didn't want Chin Feng to do that. If that was the case, he would be in huge conflict with the family. He looked at the people who fell to the ground and locked his eyes on the leader. "Go back and tell my father that he doesn't need to find me." "I won't go back." The guy got up slowly and wiped off the blood at the corner of his lips. "Little miss, I hope that you can think it through. The chief won't let all of you off." He then looked at He-Fei and then at Lin Fan and the others. It was obvious that he treated them as a group. "Let's go." All of them left dejectedly. "Senior brother, are you okay?" Chun Feng hurried to his side and asked. He wasn't weak, and senior brother found it tough to fight him. If not for sister-in-law's help, things might not have ended so quickly. I am okay. He shook his head. He was really strong. Fortunately, he had cultivated a fist technique to returning to true realm. Otherwise, it would have been hard to say who would have won. Chun Feng saw that Lin Fan and the others were stunned and smiled. Don't be nervous. This has nothing to do with you. If it was you, you would have been crushed to death with just one hand. Fortunately, my senior brother and sister-in-law are strong enough. If there is nothing else, then leave. It is rare for all of you to see such a scene, right? But don't think about cultivating. All of you are just normal people, and you are too old. It is too late for you to cultivate. The girl said, it is best if they leave with us. My people have amazing memories, and they must have memorized their faces. If we find them, they won't have a good ending. He nodded and walked in front of Lin Fan. Brother, I am a disciple of Xintian's sect. All of you were dragged into this, and looking at your situation, you have nowhere to go. Why don't you follow me back to the sect? Once this matter is solved, you can go wherever you want. What do you think? Go Z frowned and looked at young master. He really wanted to ask, was young master really so normal? He wanted to argue, but he knew that young master didn't like to act cool. He just wanted to go with the flow. This was why he didn't say anything. Okay, then I will have to trouble you. Moreover, you are a good person and maybe I can help you. Lin Fan said, TSK, it is good that you don't drag my senior brother down. How can I expect you to help me? Chun Feng was filled with disdain. People nowadays didn't have much strength, but liked to act cool. Haze. It was hard to explain. To Lin Fan, he also wanted to know where Xintian's sect was. This territory was a little complicated. Chapter 417. Lin Fan's idea of heading to Xintian's sect was really simple. If it was possible, he hoped that when Xintian's sect was provoked and they didn't have the ability to face it, he would go all out and kill everyone to slowly accumulate rage points. Moreover, based on his guesses, that woman's family would definitely come to Xintian's sect to ask for her. Based on the normal development, there would definitely be a conflict. When the time came, he would appear to help. Since He was a decent person, he would help him out a little. He would then argue with that family and absorb a huge wave of rage points. Open up your brains and don't let poverty restrict your imagination. Tell me boldly, how many rage points can you get? Have you thought about it? As for his headache about his cultivation rising too quickly and wanting to slow down, that was just a complaint unless he was sick in the head. Till now, he still didn't know that if he was weak, he would be beaten up very quickly. A few days later, Xintian's sect was right in front of him. It was a majestic sect, and from afar, one could see the tall buildings standing in the mountains. When He saw that the sect was right in front of him, he actually felt a little nervous. He held the girl's hand tightly. Maybe he knew that bringing her back would bring problems to the sect, but he could only place his hopes on the sect. Lin Fan found it weird. They arrived at the sect in just a few days. This place wasn't far, and the sect was really tight. It was the right decision to come out and take a look. He would be able to understand the sect's distribution. Chun Feng said, follow us back to the sect. Don't talk nonsense, and don't look around. If anything happens, we won't be able to protect you. Okay. Lin Fan smiled. It seemed like there was a high chance that they would have huge gains here. He was really looking forward to it. Of course, to anyone else, Lin Fan and the others were just normal people. Thus, they were arranged to live in a certain house. A low-profile life was always so unassuming. But one had to say, he realized that Xintian's sect really had a lot of disciples. If he could use his group taunts, the effects would be amazing. It seemed like he had to work hard. There was a high chance that he would succeed. Young master, how long are we going to stay here for? Gozi asked. He didn't notice anything special about this Xintian sect. The Gozi of the past had disappeared, and now, as a domain realm expert, Gozi standards had increased. In his words, the people here are all so weak. Lin Fan said, don't rush, wait. Some things will surface soon. After they moved in, He didn't come back. The moment he returned to the sect, He went to find the sect elder and sect leader to report this matter. In their eyes, Lin Fan and the others were just ordinary people. It was already good enough that they could be settled in the sect. What happened next would not involve them, and they could just quietly wait for things to end. At night, He-Fei stood there with a really ugly expression on his face. He was a little unwilling and didn't know what to do. "Disciple, you've gotten yourself into big trouble," an old man said helplessly. What would he do? The person in front of him was his disciple. Even if he was an elder of the sect, it was not up to him to decide. "Master, is there really no way?" He-Fei asked. The old man thought about it for a moment and said, "That girl is the eldest daughter of the Ji family. They are really strong and are showing signs of advancing from a mid-tier sect to a top sect. Their old ancestor is at Dao Realm Stage 4 and has been in secluded meditation for a long time. If he breaks through to Dao Realm Stage 5, he will have the strength of a top sect. The gap between our Xintian sect and the Ji family is just too huge. More importantly, the Ji family has a close relationship with the top sections." He-Fei lowered his head, and his expression was a little off. He understood what Master was saying. "Master, I don't want to hide anything. I will tell you everything I know. Her father wanted to send her to a top sect to marry a top disciple." The old man was stunned and then looked at his disciple. "I really didn't expect my disciple to be so charming. Master, now is not the time to tease me. Do you have any other way to solve this?" He-Fei asked. The old man sighed. "There's no other way. If you're willing to let go, the sect will definitely be able to protect your life. As for you wanting the Ji family to give up on that top sect disciple and choose you, that's impossible. You're very talented, but compared to the top sect geniuses, you're still too far away. Too far away." "No, Master, I definitely can't let go. Moreover, we have already consummated our marriage." He-Fei definitely wouldn't let go. He was a man, and naturally, he wasn't willing to hand his own things to others. But he was under huge pressure, and the enemy he was facing was just too terrifying. He didn't know what to do. The old man blinked and looked at his disciple in disbelief. How did this happen? His disciple didn't look like a perverted person. They were all outside and didn't have a room. If not, they would have used the ground as a bed and fought. He-Fei didn't know what his master was thinking. If he knew, he would definitely grumble that his disciple wasn't perverted, but that they couldn't control themselves on such a dark night. "Fei, this is a huge problem. Even I don't know what to do. The old man is speaking the truth. I really don't know anything. You had fun, but now that you are in a mess, it is a huge headache." He-Fei thought about the outcome and said firmly, "Master, I won't give up. If I'm going to die, I will die in the sect." The old man reached out and patted He-Fei's shoulder. "Disciple, I will protect you. But if there is really nothing I can do, you must understand that a wise man knows his place. Don't be rash." Just as the master and disciple were talking, Ji family had moved out long ago. Those people who were beaten up by He-Fei returned to the family and reported the situation. The chief personally led people over to Xintian's sect. A mid-tier sect actually dared to pull a tooth out of the tiger's mouth. They really didn't know what was good for them. The next day, when Lin Fan opened his eyes, Go-Zi had prepared everything. Go-Zi personally prepared everything for him to wash up and eat. "Young master, it is time to wash up." Go-Zi entered the room and placed the things at the side. Suddenly, in the distance, a strong aura exploded. At the same time, there was a furious roar. It was obvious that they had come to find him. Lin Fan was really calm and didn't rush out at all. He continued to wash up and then enjoyed Go-Zi's food. He was in someone else's sect, so it wasn't good to jump out too quickly. At least he had to give the sect a chance to perform. "Let's go take a look," Lin Fan said. He brought Go-Zi and Liang Yongqi into the distance. That should be the main hall. He could sense several auras clashing there. Although there wasn't a huge battle, there was definitely a vicious conversation. Very quickly, when Lin Fan arrived, the situation was indeed a little intense. Xintian's sect disciples surged over because someone came to cause trouble. All of them stared aggressively at the people there. To them, Xintian's sect wasn't a sect that anyone could bully, but their arrogant heads were being suppressed. After all, in their eyes, their sect leader seemed like he couldn't take it and became a little cowardly. Lin Fan looked over. That girl's race should be nearby. The male leader had decent cultivation, and the aura he gave off was at Dao Realm Stage 3. No matter where he was, he should be a really strong expert. The guy was the Ji family head, Ji Chong. His expression was really ugly, and he hollered, "You unfilial daughter, you are actually with a bastard. You have thrown away the face of our Ji family." Ji Shuefei's face turned ashen white. She wanted to say something, but her father's aura covered her heart, and she didn't know what to say. "Uncle, Shuefei and I are both willing. Please grant us our wish. If we send Shuefei to a top sect, she definitely won't be happy. As her father, you definitely wouldn't want her to be unhappy for the rest of her life, right?" He Fei mustered up his courage and said, "You bastard, shut up. As a disciple of the mid-tier sect, you don't have the right to climb up to the Ji family." Ji Chong said coldly. He was so furious that he was about to explode. He really didn't expect that such a thing would happen. This damn kid and this damn Xintian sect. "Chief Ji, although my disciple is in the wrong, the two of them are both willing. As seniors, it is a little too much to break them up." The old man couldn't take it anymore. His disciple was being belittled, so as a master, he couldn't sit still and do nothing. He had to say a few words. "Old man, shut up. This has nothing to do with you." Ji Chong obviously wouldn't give face to a mid-tier sex elder. To not give him any face at all made him feel really awkward. Lin Fan looked at Ji Chong in envy. Damn, so many people were angry at him. If he could gain rage points, then he would be in the sky. He was thinking about it. Maybe he could be like him. Although people hated him, he would gain a lot of rage points. Just as he was thinking about all of this, the situation changed. Ji Chong ordered people to snatch his unfilial daughter back. With He Fei and the other's strength, how could they block him? Naturally, his master would protect her. But Ji Chong attacked right away, using absolute strength to suppress everything. He suppressed He Fei's master with one move. The situation was a little quick, but that was normal. After all, the difference in strength was huge. If a Dao Realm Stage 3 couldn't suppress someone at Dao Realm Stage 1, then how was he going to survive in the future? "Follow me back." Ji Chong hollered in rage. His voice was like thunder, and it was deafening. A terrifying aura covered Xintian sect. Xintian sect leader's forehead was covered in sweat, and his face was ashen white. He sensed the terrifying aura, and it was just too strong. Even he was no match for the other party. It didn't make sense to sacrifice the entire Xintian sect for one disciple. At such a moment of despair, if I can mock him, then naturally I will gain a lot. It is time for me to appear. Lin Fan's smile was as bright as a flower. Chapter 4:18. The past few days were a disaster for Xintian sect. They were in a tragedy, really a tragedy. Lin Fan came to Xintian sect and hollered in rage. In front of them, he said that their senior brother was a piece of trash and even injured their elder. The sect leader stood there and didn't even move. He didn't even let out a fart. To them, how they wished that their sect master could be firm at this moment and crush the other party in an invincible manner. Step on these people and tell them that this was the Black Heaven sect, and they were courting death for daring to act so impudently here. But they knew that this was a dream and that such a thing wouldn't happen. Suddenly, a voice spread out from behind. Are Xintian sect people all so useless? The disciples of the Xintian sect were in a state of grief. They didn't know what to do. But when they heard those words, all of them exploded. It was as if a grenade had been thrown into the crowd, instantly blowing them up into the sky. Who dares to say that? When have our Xintian sect people ever been useless? Everyone was searching for the person who said that. Now that someone came to provoke Xintian sect, they couldn't beat him and felt that they were unlucky. But not everyone could ride on their heads. Stop looking, I am here. All of you are indeed useless, especially your sect leader. He is so frightened that he doesn't even dare to attack. How embarrassing. Very quickly, everyone turned around and realized that it was the person who spoke. Those humiliating words were said by the other party, but they didn't know who he was. It seemed like the sect didn't have such a person. Rage points plus 66. Rage points plus 199. Rage points plus 222. He didn't have much hope for some normal disciples, as individual rage points were just too low. But you're the most beautiful when you are angry. The individual numbers were small, but there were so many of them. Some disciples clenched their fists and green veins appeared. They wanted to charge up and beat Lin Fan up, but they bore with it and didn't do anything. Unknowingly, they proved what Lin Fan was thinking. How could they be so cowardly? Rage points plus 999. When the Xintian sect leader looked at Lin Fan, he was furious. His rage points reached a peak. If not for the fact that the G family members were here and that he wasn't sure whether or not Lin Fan was from the G family, he didn't dare to say anything. Lin Fan was really calm. What are you looking at me for? I'm just telling the truth. It's not like I'm spouting nonsense. His words were so infuriating, but there was no other way. Everything you've said is the truth. If there's any falsehood, please prove yourself with your actions. Needless to say, the harvest was very bountiful. At that time, his thoughts were clear. No matter what sect it was, in order to become stronger, he was willing to be a walking hatchet man. He was filled with despair at the current situation. But when he heard that familiar voice behind him, he was slightly taken aback. Turning around, he realized that the person he had brought back was actually scolding his sect. Although he felt a little sad, the worst thing was that the person he loved was going to be taken away. Chun Feng couldn't help but roar. "You bastard, if I knew you were such a person, I would have blown your head off." He really couldn't help it. Even if you're an ordinary person, you can't be so arrogant. Seeing your brother brought you back to help you, but you don't know what's good for you. You actually said such hurtful words at a time like this. Feels good. Lin Fan was satisfied with the current situation. His rage points were increasing. It seemed like as long as he continued to work hard, he would be able to get more rage points. As for scolding him, he didn't care. As long as he could provide rage points, he could scold him however he wanted. He would definitely fight back. Of course, when he scolded him to the end and couldn't provide any rage points, then the tragedy would come. Lin Fan was so arrogant and naturally, it made them unhappy. Those disciples didn't feel good, but there was nothing they could do. He was right. He wasn't speaking nonsense. Look at their Xintian sect's current situation. The sect leader stood there with a stunned expression. Although he was furious, that was only towards Lin Fan. He didn't show any unhappiness towards the G family at all. Even if it was just a sentence, it would be fine. Chun Feng snarled at Lin Fan furiously. However, the way Lin Fan ignored him made him furious. He really wanted to rush up and beat him up. But at that moment, he noticed that the G family people were walking towards Senior Brother. Who cared about Lin Fan? He charged in front of Senior Brother and stared at him in rage. He was prepared to fight at any moment. "Junior Brother, back down," He said. Chun Feng said, "Senior Brother, I definitely won't let them take sister-in-law away." The person who walked towards them was an expert from the G family. Although he wasn't as strong as the sect leader, he wasn't someone that Chun Feng and the others could fight against. "Little miss, follow the chief home." The family member walked over step by step. Each step he took gave He and the others huge pressure. Ji Shuifei said, "I won't go back. I'm already his. Even if you bring me back, you won't be able to answer to him." What? A shocking roar of anger burst out. The voice wasn't from the family member, but from Ji Chong, who was waiting. His body was on the verge of collapsing like he couldn't stand properly. What did that unfilial girl say? Ji Shuifei took in a deep breath like she had gathered all her courage and said, "I am already his." Ji Chong was stunned, but very quickly, rage rose up in him. A storm formed around him that was filled with rage. "Kid, I will kill you." He was truly enraged. "Hey, old fellow, why are you so angry? Let's talk nicely." Lin Fan walked in front of He Fei. An invisible aura exploded out and blocked Ji Chang's rage. "Isn't it just the thing they're turning into someone else's shape? What is the big deal? I think this kid is not bad. He is smart enough to change your daughter into his shape." Rage points plus 999 rage points, plus 999. The people of G Clan were not idiots. How could they not understand the meaning behind those words? All of them were furious and provided Lin Fan with a large amount of rage points. He Fei was stunned and felt that those words sounded a little weird. However, he couldn't think of what was wrong with it. The key was that to him, Lin Fan was just a normal person. The situation here wasn't something that he could defend against. But shortly after, the invisible aura that spread out from Lin Fan's body shocked He Fei. It was as if he was in disbelief. Ji Chong didn't care much about Lin Fan. But shortly after, when he sensed that vast ocean-like aura, he was stunned. Lin Fan said, "Don't talk about me or you. Look at all of you. You really aren't much. If your daughter found a man, then so be it. Why did you have to snatch her back? I understand. It seems like you want to send your daughter to a top sect. In my opinion, you look really haggard when you snatch your daughter, but you look really handsome when you give her away." Such a situation was something that one could only hope for. He absorbed 2 waves of rage points at once. Truthfully, how could such a good thing happen often? Brother, He Fei treated Lin Fan as a normal person, but looking at the situation, he didn't look like a normal person at all. He was really terrifying. Lin Fan said, "I think that you're a decent person, so I will help you." That was what he said. Actually, what help was there? He thought that there would definitely be trouble here. If he snatched his daughter back to the sect, they would definitely fight their way over. When that happened, it would feel great. Both sides would mock each other, and rage points would come on both sides. His strength would also improve, so why not? The people from Xintian's sect looked at Lin Fan. They didn't expect that he would challenge them. All of a sudden, they were stunned, like they couldn't react at all. This was especially so for the Black Heaven sect leader, who was frowning. Where did this kid come from? Just the aura that he had just given off was already extraordinary. But the G family was too strong. The G family old ancestor might have reached Dao Realm Stage 5, and that was someone they had to look up to. "Kid, who are you? This is the G family's matter. Do you want to be enemies with them?" Ji Chong didn't know where this kid came from, so he didn't dare to be too aggressive. In such a situation, Lin Fan didn't think about talking to anyone. As for talking to him, if he didn't get angry, then where would he get rage points? This was why it was understandable that he was so direct with his words. Lin Fan said impatiently, "Enough, what are you talking about? As a sect leader, I hate people like you who bully others just because you have some strength. You even want to ruin a good marriage. I say, you are an animal." Just because he had a bit of strength, he could do whatever he wanted. This was not something that he, Lin Fan, had done often. He had bullied others before, but he couldn't remember. Rage points plus 999. The Xintian sect disciples felt that their anger had been vented. Before this, they were furious at Lin Fan, but now some of them had a good impression of him. But Lin Fan's next words caused that good impression to disappear. Even if you want to bully others, you have to pick the stronger ones. This Xintian sect is full of pushovers. Although it feels good to bully them, can you have some face? Especially this sect leader, he is just a coward. Even I don't want to bully him. Lin Fan pointed at Ji Chong and scolded. Damn! The Xintian sect disciples were so furious that they were about to explode. They just had a good impression of him, but didn't expect him to say such words. He obviously didn't care about them at all. The Xintian sect leader's face flushed red. He really wanted to smash this kid's head. Damn! That damn fellow! Ji Chang's face was dark and sunken. Kid, I try to talk nicely to you, but you don't know what's good for you. I really want to see what kind of ability you have. The moment he said this, the wind and clouds surged. Dao Realm Stage 3 cultivation exploded out. As the Ji family chief, Ji Chang's cultivation was really amazing. If the old ancestor became a Dao Realm Stage 5 expert, then their Ji family would become a top family and be on the same level as the top sections. Of course, although he had just entered a top sect, his status was different. He would come into contact with many more things and would have more say. Chapter 419. At that moment, Dao patterns exploded from Ji Chang's body. Each Dao pattern shone brightly and swept forwards like a waterfall. The sky shook. Ji Chang's Tao patterns were really extraordinary. The space couldn't take it and started to show signs of collapsing. When the Xintian sect disciples sensed this shocking aura, they felt like they were in a deep abyss. They shivered and didn't even have a chance to fight back. "Be careful," He Fei reminded, but his voice was really weak. It was as if when he saw this power, he had given up all thoughts of fighting back. This power was too terrifying, and it wasn't something that they could handle. Xintian sect leader raised his head. Although he was at Tao realm, he sensed an ocean-like pressure from the surging power. It wasn't something that he could handle. "Kiki, not bad." Lin Fan raised his head and smiled. He pushed his palm forwards. Instantly, with his palm as the starting point, a shocking power exploded forth. With a kacha, the space was like a 1,000-layer cake. Many dimensions appeared and stacked on top of one another. In the end, they gathered together to form a dimension space that suppressed Ji Chang's Tao patterns into his body. What? Ji Chang felt an unstoppable power pressing down on him. The Tao patterns that were about to appear couldn't fight against Lin Fan's power at all. With a loud explosion, they were smashed into his body. He didn't dare to believe what had happened. "Old man, it's not that I want to criticize you, but your cultivation state is pretty decent. But, at the very most, you can only bully pushovers. But in my eyes, you're still slightly lacking." Lin Fan stood with his hands behind his back, looking extremely calm. It was as if he didn't care about Lin Fan at all. Xintian sect leader felt like he was losing face. He felt like those words were directed at him, and that weakling was their Xintian sect. The way he looked at Lin Fan was filled with resentment. However, he was extremely shocked because Lin Fan was very young, but he had such strength. It was simply too shocking. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he wouldn't have believed it at all. So amazing. The Xintian sect disciples raised their heads and looked at Lin Fan. They had a lot of complaints about Lin Fan. But now, this opinion was completely gone because they needed a powerhouse to protect their dignity and ruthlessly let the other party know that they were not to be trifled with. Furthermore, Lin Fan was very young, which was a perfect fit for their expectations. It was as if they were the ones suppressing the other party, not Lin Fan. Ji Chang's face was gloomy, and his aura surged. "Brat, I've underestimated you." At this moment, Ji Chang's aura was gathered to its peak. The power of Tao Realm Stage 3 yin-yang and 5 elements exploded out. Heaven and earth reversed, and all sorts of weird powers that normal people couldn't touch spread out from the depths of the void. Then, it gathered into a dazzling radiance. Sky Vault Tao. Ji Chang roared in rage and punched out. The surrounding space gathered together and turned into a ray of light that pierced downwards. This kind of glorious battle had already surpassed many others. The radiance was so dazzling that it was difficult to open one's eyes. Lin Fan raised his head and looked over. He didn't feel much pressure and didn't care much about what was happening. A hint of a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. A decent move to cross stage 2, but what a waste. There was a loud explosion. Lin Fan ripped open the dimension and stepped forwards. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of the light. He opened his fingers and slapped forwards. The rays of light bombarded the palm, but without any room for resistance. They were directly pushed back. How did this happen? How is he so strong? Ji Chang's forehead was covered in a cold sweat. When he fought with Lin Fan, he could clearly sense how tough it was to block that power. From start to finish, Lin Fan was really calm. There weren't many fluctuations in his actions, and every move he made was filled with a shocking aura. Shortly after, Lin Fan pushed the light back and appeared in front of Ji Chang. The two of them looked at one another. To Ji Chang, this situation was a little off. Just as he was about to react, Lin Fan hammered down on Ji Chang's face. He was a dual cultivator, and when he was far away, he would play with special effects. But when he was close, he wouldn't think so much and would just raise his fists. Tao Realm Stage 3 was one realm higher than him, but truthfully, Lin Fan didn't fear it. It was just one realm higher, and it wasn't much. Pung! Each of Lin Fan's fists would cause space to ripple and then explode with a white light. It was so blinding that one couldn't see what was happening in the sky. Of course, naturally, he could shout out the name of the move and then punch out with a fist that exploded with light. But there was no need for that. Each fist he punched was to gather the power of his Tao patterns and then explode with it. Pong! The ground shook and no one knew what was going on. But shortly after, Lin Fan landed with his hands behind his back like he had already done it. His speed was so quick that it stunned everyone. Everyone looked at Lin Fan, and there was only one thought in their minds. Was it over? Boring. I thought that Tao Realm Stage 3 was so strong. Who knew that he had just entered Tao Realm Stage 3? Lin Fan pouted and was a little unhappy. He thought that he would be able to last for a period of time, but now it seemed like he was just SOSO. When the Shintian sect disciples heard those words, they were shocked. Tao Realm was such a huge gap for them. But now that someone said it, it sounded like it was just SOSO. Thick dust seeped out from the deep hole in the distance, and one couldn't see what was happening within. Chief, the G family disciples were terrified. Their minds were filled with the thought that it was impossible. The chief would definitely be fine. He was a Tao Realm Stage 3 expert and would become even stronger in the future. How could he have lost so quickly? Lin Fan stopped and turned his head. He heard a weak voice from the deep hole. I advise you to be more well-behaved. If you continue to stand up, you will just be making yourself more unlucky. The gray mist slowly dissipated. Everyone could see a blurry body in the mist. It was really blurry, but it made the G family members cheer out. Chief. Smiles appeared on their faces. They knew that the chief wouldn't lose so easily. But when the gray mist dissipated, they opened their mouths and couldn't close them for a long time. The chief was indeed the chief, but he was in a bad situation. His body was covered in dust, and his clothes were tattered. His wounds were also bleeding. His body shook like he could fall at any moment. Stop right there. Ji Chong hollered in rage. His aura was really unstable. He panted and didn't dare to believe what had happened. There was only one thing on his mind. What happened just now? How did he lose? What is the point? You are really weak. Trying to prove to me how strong you are is such a stupid thing. I heard that your G family is about to become a top power, so you definitely have stronger experts. If he came, maybe he could fight me. As for you, you really can't. Lin Fan said. Impossible. Ji Chong hollered. His hair stood on their ends. When one was on the verge of collapsing, everyone would be able to use the most shocking power. At that moment, 31 Tao patterns flew out from Ji Chang's body and seeped into the dimension. Shortly after, they appeared beside Lin Fan and tied him up. Each Tao pattern contained terrifying power, which was the power of the Tao. The Tao patterns tied him up tighter and tighter. When normal people faced such a situation, their skin would tear and their bones would shatter. Lin Fan didn't move at all. His expression was normal and there were no changes at all. Lin Fan squinted. This was a final struggle. Since that was the case, then he would help him. Wong. An aura exploded from Lin Fan's body and gathered in the air. In the end, it turned into a giant sword. The sword pierced through the sky, and the sharp sword intent swept everything. With a kacha, the Tao patterns around Lin Fan couldn't take the terrifying sword intent and showed signs of collapsing. Slash! Lin Fan hollered. The heaven sword above his head slashed down like a waterfall towards Ji Chong. The sword light sliced open heaven and earth. Before the sword light even arrived, everyone panicked. It was as if the thing that slashed down wasn't a sword, but a death god waving a sickle that was about to reap all living beings. Suddenly, the sword light stopped. Ji Shuifei blocked in front of her father. She lowered her head and shouted in fear, "Don't kill my father. I beg you, Shuifei." Sister-in-law. Yifei was terrified. He didn't expect Shuifei to actually run over and block in front of Ji Chong. He didn't know how terrifying that move was, but just by looking at it, he knew that it wasn't simple. "Senior, show mercy," Yifei shouted. He didn't call him brother anymore, but called him senior respectfully. The change was a little quick. Shenfeng didn't know what to say. He always thought that Lin Fan was a normal person. But now, how is he normal? Thinking back to his previous actions, he felt that the other party had wanted him to slap his own face from the very beginning. However, he didn't know that it was only now that the countless slaps converged into a single slap that landed heavily on his face. You really have balls. Father and daughter have a deep relationship. If I didn't hold back, both of you would have been sliced into pieces, Lin Fan said. He struggled a little. The Dao patterns around Lin Fan's body instantly collapsed. Pooh! Ji Chong couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. Before he fainted, he said, "I don't need you, unfilial daughter." Before he finished, he fainted. The heaven sword that was floating in the air slowly disappeared, and everything calmed down. Lin Fan was satisfied with the outcome. Rage points exploded out once more. He could raise his cultivation, and he felt great. Suddenly, he noticed something shocking. Faith actually appeared among the group of disciples. That was weird. This was the first time they met, and they came to cause trouble. As disciples, they actually had faith. Did they betray the sect so quickly? Or was it because he was more charming? Chapter 420. The place was really silent. The battle that caused the sky to lose its light had ended. When Lin Fan appeared, he attracted the rage of everyone. No one believed that he could bring about any changes. Because Lin Fan's words were too harsh, he was nearly attacked by everyone. Now, the scenes in front of them were imprinted in their eyes. There was nothing they could do, even if they didn't believe it. Lin Fan suppressed Ji Chong with lightning speed. If not for his daughter blocking in front of him, he would have turned to dust and disappeared from the world. Chief, the Ji family disciples' eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. Their eyes were bloodshot as they stared at Lin Fan in rage and hatred. It was all because of him. If not for him, things wouldn't have turned out like this. Ji Shuefei was worried about her father's injuries. Even if her father wanted to marry her to someone she didn't like, no matter what, he was her father. She couldn't watch her father face such a huge problem and not do anything. "Is my father okay?" Shuefei asked. The disciples who were taking care of the chief were unhappy with little miss, but they didn't show it. They were just in deep despair. They had a bad start. They thought that it would be easy to solve, but they didn't expect such a situation to occur. The Ji family disciples wanted to support the chief to leave, but Lin Fan stopped them. "I didn't allow you to leave, so why are you in such a rush? Wait, I have something to discuss with all of you later." Once the Xintian sect matter was solved, naturally, he would have a good chat with the Ji family. If he left now, then what was the point of everything before? If he just wanted to act cool in front of Xintian sect, then he was wrong. He wasn't such a shallow person. You don't have to go overboard. This is our chief, and our old ancestor is about to come out. If he finds out about what happened here, you won't have a good ending. The one who spoke was the chief's cousin. Lin Fan's cultivation made him feel despair. Even his cousin wasn't his match, much less them. Even if all of them attacked, they wouldn't be his match. Lin Fan said, "What cultivation is your old ancestor at? He is actually so strong. So why didn't he come personally and instead sent you small fries?" His words were really hurtful. They were small fries? Then what wasn't small fries? He had seen many experts, but he had never seen such a confident and arrogant person. "My old ancestor's cultivation is too high, and he has great strength. Once he comes out, he will be a Dao Realm Stage 5 expert, and the Ji family will become a top family. At the same time, we have a close relationship with the top sections. Do you think that just by suppressing us, you will be fine? As long as my family's ancestor finds out, even if you flee to the ends of the earth, he will definitely kill you." The man said angrily. Lin Fan said, "Yes, what you said makes sense. But if I kill all of you, even your old ancestor won't be able to find out who did it." Damn. The man wanted to slap himself a few times. After thinking about it for a moment, Zhang Xian realized that the other party's words made sense. Why didn't he realize that there was a problem with those words in the past? Seeing that the other party's expression wasn't right, Lin Fan just smiled faintly. There was something wrong with the intelligence of these people. He was too lazy to say anything more to them. At that moment, He Fei felt that Lin Fan had been toying with him from the start. He felt really annoyed. Were all the powerful people so good at toying with him? Say, Senior, since you're so amazing, then why did you say that you were a normal person? That is just so awkward, He said, but he was really grateful for his help. If not for him, he wouldn't have been able to survive this matter so easily. Lin Fan said, I am just a normal person. I'm just slightly stronger than normal people. He walked forwards and patted Fei's shoulder. Work hard. I'm helping you because I think you're a good person. However, that junior brother of yours isn't much. If it weren't for you, he would have been beaten up already. That's right. Fei nodded his head. He felt really proud, and it was obvious that he had done something huge. Don't worry, Senior. I will definitely teach my junior brother a lesson, Fei said respectfully. He couldn't understand Lin Fan's age. With his eyesight, how could he tell bone age? He thought that it was because his body was cultivated, which was why he looked so young. Was sad kid. He really believed Lin Fan's words. Lin Fan walked in front of the Xintian sect leader and smiled. Facing that smile, even if the sect leader didn't want to, he had a smile. If not, what else could he do? Lin Fan's strength was just too shocking. Lin Fan didn't expect him to still be able to smile. He really didn't understand what people were thinking. It wasn't a sin to be weak, but he was just too cowardly. He was so cowardly that he didn't know what to say. Come, let me talk to you about something. Lin Fan walked forwards and hugged the sect leader's shoulder. The two of them were like good brothers that hadn't seen each other in a long time as they walked into the distance. They talked as they walked. The sect leader's body froze up, and it was obvious that he was shocked by Lin Fan's actions. Lin Fan said calmly, As a sect leader, you are just a little cowardly. They only have so few people, and you don't even dare to fight back. Aren't you dragging the sect down by becoming the sect leader? Look at how the disciples are looking at you. They're all disappointed. Hayes, what a waste. The sect leader's expression changed, and he was a little unhappy. It was as if he wanted to say that even that had nothing to do with him. But no matter what, he was the sect leader, and their sect had temporarily forced back the danger. The sect leader said, He is the Ji family chief, and he is really strong. Xintian's sect isn't his match at all. Yeah, actually, can't you tell that I am stronger than him? Lin Fan said. The sect leader said, I can tell that you are even stronger than Ji Chong. I really don't know what kind of power can develop such an expert like you. I think even the top sects don't have such strength. Lin Fan smiled. Let's not talk about this first. Lin Fan smiled. Let's not talk about this first. Actually, it isn't important at all. Maybe you are thinking too much. My goal here is simple. I am here to extort. Don't look around and don't be shocked. That is roughly what I mean. I am interested in Dao Realm techniques. Your Xintian sect is a mid-tier sect, so you should have many, right? Why don't you share them? Where's the book depository? Let's go there and talk. To the Xintian sect disciples, they felt that they had misunderstood Lin Fan. What he said before was from the bottom of his heart. He was disappointed in their sect, but in the end, he helped them solve their problems. Now, he was even holding their sect leader's shoulder and talking and laughing like they were good friends that they hadn't met in a long time. Many disciples had a good impression of Lin Fan. As for what he said before, they had tossed it to the back of their heads. The sect leader was calm, but his tone was a little uneasy. My Xintian sect didn't offend you, right? Lin Fan patted his shoulder. You didn't offend me, but you seem like you're easy to bully, so I want to bully you. Do you have a problem with that? The sect leader raised his head and looked at Lin Fan. Rage burned in his heart, and he wanted to scold him. Damn, what kind of lousy reason was that? Did he really think that he was easy to bully? But maybe he didn't need to say anything. The truth was right in front of him, and even if he denied it, it was useless. Lin Fan said, Don't think so much. Bring me there, and I won't tell anyone. You can still be the sect leader. I will also make a trip to the Ji family. Actually, you are winning, aren't you? Right, a wise man submits to circumstances. I have no reason to reject your request, but I hope that you can keep it a secret. At least I am still the sect leader. If others find out, I will lose all my face. The sect leader said. It wasn't that he hadn't seen such things before, but this was the first time he had done such a thing. Don't worry, I am a principled person. As long as you cooperate with me, then we're good friends. In the future, when I face problems, all of you will help me. When you face problems, I will help all of you too. Lin Fan said. The sect leader didn't continue. This was the result of being weak. If he was strong, then such a thing wouldn't have happened. When Ji family came to Xintian's sect, he didn't dare to behave arrogantly. Now that this fellow hugged his shoulder and asked for Tao Realm techniques, he couldn't reject him at all. He felt really wronged. Very quickly, under the sect leader's lead, they came to the book hiding pavilion. There's an elder here who is in charge of guarding techniques. I need to report to him. The sect leader said, No need, it is too troublesome. Lin Fan brought the sect leader into the book hiding pavilion. As expected, he sensed a hidden aura. Instantly, the old man realized that the sect leader had brought someone in and was prepared to ask him what he needed. But before he said anything, his head smashed onto the ground and he fainted. Maybe to the old man, he didn't expect such a thing to happen. After all, he was in charge of the book hiding pavilion and naturally, he wasn't weak. But he was suppressed just like that. That was just so embarrassing. The sect leader's body shook. He calmed himself down and brought Lin Fan to where the Tao Realm techniques were stored. Xintian's sect was just a mid-tier sect, and they didn't have many Tao Realm techniques. Each one was really precious. Similar to domain realm techniques, one could form Tao patterns. But these Tao patterns were worlds apart from true Tao Realm techniques. Just so little. Lin Fan frowned and was a little unhappy. That was just too little. The sect leader said, Not bad. Xintian's sect is a mid-tier sect and isn't considered strong. For us to have these techniques, we slowly accumulated them. Lin Fan counted, and there were a total of 10 Tao Realm techniques. Forget it. It was better than nothing. He flipped it in his hands and memorized the 10 Tao Realm techniques. He had a total of 15 Tao Realm techniques that he needed to cultivate. 200,000 rage points for one. To cultivate these 15 Tao Realm techniques, to complete Tao patterns, he needed 3 million rage points. The sect leader didn't understand what Lin Fan was doing. He just flipped through them and then placed them back. He was a little stunned and couldn't understand. Hell, let's go. Lin Fan's goal for coming to Xintian's sect had been achieved, and he was satisfied. What was surprising was that many of the Xintian sect disciples actually had faith in him. Although it was just the beginning, it was a good start. But how to raise faith quickly was a problem. The darkness god domain needed faith to develop, but they just didn't have enough. Chapter 421. Outside the hall, Lin Fan looked at the disciples who had faith in him. He pointed at them and told them to come out. Of course, this was how he went to find people. Xintian's sect was a good choice. Not only did he give them techniques, but he could also meet disciples who had faith in him. How great was that? He was a winner in life. Those disciples who were pointed out looked at Lin Fan in confusion and didn't know what instructions the elder had. It could be said that they worshipped Lin Fan very much. They felt that he was like a god who had descended to the mortal world. He had used his heaven and earth to twist the world and suppress this despicable guy. How handsome, how domineering, they worshipped him. Sect leader, these disciples are fated with me, so I will bring them away. Lin Fan said. Who cared whether or not they agreed? He didn't want to say it twice. He walked towards Ji Chong. Next would be Ji family's matter. Maybe he would start to interact with the top sections. Ji family had connections with the top sections. Normal people definitely wouldn't take it if he went to their door. But if Ji family was as cowardly as Xintian's sect, then he could pretend that he didn't say anything. The sect leader found it weird and was a little stunned. What did he want his disciples for? He wanted to say something, but realized that Lin Fan didn't even wait for him to reply. He totally disregarded them. It was like he was just telling them that regardless of whether they agreed or not, the matter was settled. The sect leader felt like he had lost all his face. Are you all willing? He looked towards those disciples and asked. As long as they didn't agree, then he would be able to turn the tables. Yes. The disciples agreed without a second thought. They replied too quickly and didn't even think about it. Damn. The sect leader was furious and nearly roared out to question them. Did they know what they were saying? Did they still treat themselves as Xiantian sect disciples? Maybe they didn't need to ask, as the truth was right in front of them. Their choice said it all. When Lin Fan walked in front of Ji Chong, the Ji family disciples blocked in front of him. They stared at Lin Fan in rage. What do you want to do? He just glanced, and the Ji family disciples retreated in fear. But the pride in their hearts kept them strong. They couldn't be afraid. They definitely couldn't be afraid. Go Z understood. Young master just needed this fellow who was lying on the ground. The others who blocked him deserved to be beaten up. Pala Pala. The Ji family's disciples lay on the ground and wailed. It wasn't that they didn't want to protect their clan leader, but that the enemy was simply too strong. Senior, could you spare my father? Ji Shuefei looked at Lin Fan pitifully. Lin Fan looked at the lady in front of him. Indeed, he couldn't call her a little girl anymore. Normally, a little girl would have no boundaries. But even though she hadn't given birth before, he could only call her a lady. If it wasn't for the fact that a certain word couldn't be written, it would have been even more vivid. Little girl, don't worry. I promise I won't bully your father. I just want to chat with him about some things. Yifei, why aren't you dragging your wife away? Lin Fan said. He never hits a woman. It was true. Therefore, he didn't want to talk too much with Ji Shuefei. Yifei immediately walked up and pulled Shuefei back. He shook his head and signaled for her not to say too much. Go Z, bring them along. It's time for us to leave. Lin Fan said. Right when Lin Fan was about to leave, Yifei ran up. Senior, no matter what, he is my father-in-law. If he really can't do it, can you let him live? Lin Fan smiled. Kid, your way of thinking is quite amazing. He didn't say what he was going to do to Ji Chong, but Yifei said to cripple him right away. If an expert was crippled, then the outcome would be really terrifying. He probably wouldn't be able to stand tall in the race anymore. In the end, he could only rely on Yifei. A kid with a good way of thinking. If it was possible, he could help him fulfill his dream. Very quickly, Lin Fan brought them and left. Xiantian's sect leader looked at the back view and felt his chest tighten. He would remember today's humiliation. Don't let me become stronger. When the time comes, I will definitely take revenge. He couldn't show it in front of his disciples and could only act like he was fine. The elders of the sect didn't say a single word from start to finish. The main reason was that when Ji Chong attacked, they saw the gap between them. Then, when Lin Fan attacked, they were filled with despair. How would they dare to say any nonsense? They could only be spectators and watch on. Now that the matter was solved, they heaved a sigh of relief. It was good that he was fine. They were really worried that something would happen. Yifei, follow me. I have some things to ask you. Sect leader said. Yifei was the one who brought him back, so Yifei definitely knew about his background. Till now, he didn't know about Lin Fan's background. If he told others, they might not believe him. Okay. Yifei sighed. He told Shuefei to take care of Master before leaving with the sect leader. He knew what the sect leader wanted to ask, but the key was that he didn't know either. Young Master, are we heading to Ji family now? Go Z asked. Lin Fan thought about it. Let's return to the sect and send these people back. Ji family had a Dao Realm Stage 5 old ancestor, and that was already really strong. He didn't know how strong he was, but he definitely couldn't underestimate him. Moreover, Ji family was connected to a top sect. If they were unlucky and faced an expert, that would be a tragedy. This was why he had to bring 9 Demon. After merging with 9 Demon, his strength would be much stronger than his own. Of course. He could merge with other bugs, but the increase in strength would be limited. 9 Demon was the best choice. Liang Yongqi wouldn't be able to go all out with this cannon fodder by his side. During a true battle, he wouldn't have the energy to take care of him. At the same time, he was close to Zhang Tianshan, so it was a good choice for him to accompany him. A few days later, Martial Path Mountain. When Zhang Tianshan saw Liang Yongqi return, joy appeared on his face. He was grooming Liang Yongqi to be his successor. Since Liang Yongqi left for Yu City, he knew that that was the last time he would see him. Now, it seemed like he was thinking too much. Lin Fan didn't pay attention to their reunion. He looked at the disciples he brought back. This is Martial Path Mountain. In the future, all of you will live here. Remember, I have high hopes for all of you. You don't need to cultivate or work hard. Just think about my face every day. Uh-huh. The Shintian sect disciples were stunned and didn't understand what Lin Fan meant. But all of that wasn't important. The most important thing was that they knew that the person in front of them was amazing. Didn't he see how bitter the Ji family chief was? What else could they be unhappy about? Zhu Shin blinked. Young Master Lin went out to cause trouble again. He knew about the Ji family. The old ancestor was really strong and lived much longer than them. But he was low profile and rarely caused trouble, which was why he was able to live until now. Young Master Lin, why did you capture him? Zhu Shun asked softly. He always felt that as long as there wasn't too much hatred between them, then he should just let him go. Letting him go was the safest, as he wasn't a heartless person. Lin Fan said, I am prepared to head to the Ji family to borrow some things from them. Has anything happened recently? No. This place is a little secluded, and we didn't face any problems. But news came from the outside that the Alliance has started to take action. They even offer a reward for young Master Lin, but no one believes them. Zhu Shin said, the Alliance had waited for so long, so how could they not take action? Their energy extraction was smooth, and they didn't face any problems. What the Alliance lacked the most in the past was energy. Now, they understood why the natives called this place rich. It was really rich. Their technological strength allowed them to slowly swell up. Lin Fan smiled. The Alliance wanted him. Were they sick in head? He didn't offend them at all. But forget it. So be it. He would settle this matter slowly in the future. Ji Chong came to Marshall Path Mountain and looked around. He said right away, let me go and I won't pursue this matter. He felt that he was really pitiful. His daughter was kidnapped and even lost her chastity. He wanted to ask, who did he offend? Naturally, the top sect was waiting. If he didn't see him, how was he going to explain it to them? What else could he say? His daughter was stolen, so why didn't he just let it go? He wanted to say that, but he also wanted to ask if Lin Fan dared to do so. This was no longer a humiliation to the other party, but a humiliation to their entire sect. If one didn't personally experience the strength of a top sect, one wouldn't understand. Lin Fan smiled. Okay, stop the nonsense. Even if you don't pursue this matter, I will. Stay here for a night, and tomorrow, I will bring all of you away. Zhu Shun, take care of these people. Ji Chong wasn't weak, and Go Zi couldn't take care of him, so he could only rely on Zhu Shun. Zhu Shun felt that young Master Lin had walked on a path of no return. How should he put it? This path was really dangerous, and he could die at any moment. But he had no choice. Master Lin entrusted young Master Lin to him, so he had to take good care of him. No matter what danger there was, he just had to charge forwards. That night, Lin Fan returned to the room and looked at his rage points. Not bad. He could raise 3 Dao Realm techniques and form 3 more Dao patterns. He spent all his rage points, and he had 80 Dao patterns. For example, Ji Chong had 31 Dao patterns. He was average in Dao Realm Stage 3 and wasn't really strong. The key was that among Ji Chang's Dao patterns, there were too few that could be used with Dao Realm techniques. At most, there were only a few. The others were formed from the techniques that he cultivated in the past and were slightly weaker in terms of strength. Lin Fan wanted to use points to wash away some of the techniques that he cultivated in the past and add them all to Dao Realm techniques. But forget about it. Domain Realm techniques only required 69,000 rage points to reach returning to true, while 1 Dao Realm technique required 210,000. He thought about it. It didn't seem like much. The power of 3 Domain Realm Dao patterns condensed to 1 point wasn't much weaker than Dao Realm techniques. Who cared? He wasn't good at math, and just thinking about it made his head hurt. Anyways, he would just take it step by step and slowly improve. He wasn't far away from Dao Realm Stage 3. He improved a little too quickly, and it scared him a little. P.S. Thank you. The 100th Alliance leader has accumulated to the Silver Alliance. Thank you. Chapter 422. Next day, Ji Chong couldn't accept the current situation and hollered in rage. Release me. As the Ji family chief, his hands were actually tied up. If it was just his hands, then it was okay. But what was with the rope? The way it was tied up was a little unique. After Lin Fan took a look, he didn't care much about him. Ji Chong was not very useful to him, and that was all there was to it. As for the other party's current appearance, he was merely trying to maintain his composure. There was nothing extraordinary about him. "Young Master Lin, are you heading to the Ji family?" Zhu Xin asked. What he was most worried about was that young Master Lin would charge to the Ji family and face an expert. That would be a tragedy. Lin Fan said, "Of course, otherwise, why would I bring him back? Don't worry, nothing will happen. Look at him, and you will know what the Ji family is like." Ji Chong was probably roaring in his heart. Damn, what about me? What about my looks? If you have the ability, then say it out loud. A little pig that could speak naturally left everyone speechless. This felt too surreal. Just what kind of strange beast was this to actually have this kind of ability? But that wasn't the main point. The main point was that when they learned that the kid was heading to the Ji family, they were all stunned. Damn it, are people so daring nowadays? Or was it that their Ji family was really being looked down upon? If that was the case, they were looking forward to seeing how terrifying their Ji family was when the other party arrived at their Ji family. They were looking forward to seeing the miserable expression on their faces when they found out how terrifying their Ji family was. Just thinking about that expression would make one laugh. Zhu Shan was worried about young Master Lin going alone, as it was too dangerous. He wanted to follow. He was at Dao Realm Stage 3, and he might not be strong, but even Ji Chong wasn't his match. Moreover, if he went to the Ji family and faced danger, he would be able to help. At least when he went all out, he would be able to buy time for young Master Lin to escape. Of course, Lin Fan knew what Zhu Shan was thinking, but there was really no need. Zhu Shan gave up too much to fight against the Alliance in Yu City. Okay, you can just retire here. Leave the rest to me. I will let them know the consequences. He understood what the sects and powers in the world were thinking. If they really didn't want the Alliance to break through the defense line, they just needed to put in some effort and it wouldn't be a problem. But unfortunately, apart from the previous batch of people at the border, no other top sects or factions were willing to step out. They were all waiting for the moment the border disappeared and the Alliance army surged in. The Imperial dynasty wouldn't be able to take care of itself, and they would be able to do what they wanted to do. Young Master Lin, I am at the prime of my life. How am I supposed to take care of myself when I am old? Zhu Shun was unhappy. Although he had turned into a pig, he wasn't weak. Especially recently, he realized that his pig body had changed slightly, and the direction of change was a good one. Okay, you just stay in Martial Path Mountain. I don't feel at ease without an expert here. Also, teach Feng Poliu. That fellow is talented, but he wasted it. Monitor him and let him raise his strength. Lin Fan said. Feng Poliu's cultivation was really weak. In the past, he felt that his cultivation was decent, Grandmaster Realm, but now it seemed like it was just SOS-so. He wasn't even at God Essence Realm. It was really bad. However, Feng Poliu was half a step into God Essence Realm, so naturally, it wasn't a problem for him to improve. Of course, he had to bring 9 Demon this time. Naturally, there would be a huge battle at the Ji family. If he merged with 9 Demon, he would be able to use stronger strength. Zhu Shun thought about it for a moment. Haze, I know, but you have to be careful. The Ji family might not be much, but they have a close relationship with the top sections. If you really attack them, the top sects won't let you off easily. If the situation isn't right, just run. Don't force yourself. Lin Fan nodded his head. He felt that his current ability was too weak. He was unable to control the entire situation. Till now, he hadn't come into contact with the top sections. At most, he came into contact with the mid-tier sects, but they were all too weak. In the eyes of the top sects, those mid-tier sects were like hooligans, and they wouldn't care about them at all. Now, he was going to face the Ji family that was about to become a top sect. He was going to enter a deeper level of power. Gozi wanted to follow Lin Fan, but he was only at Domain Realm, so it was better for him to stay on Martial Path Mountain. If he faced trouble, it would be tough to deal with. Let's go. Lin Fan waved his hands. 9 Demon jumped onto his shoulder and then pulled the rope like he was walking a dog. Imperial Dynasty. King Wudong realized that things had become problematic recently. The ambition of the alliance slowly surfaced, and they started to expand. The cities that belonged to the imperial dynasty were occupied by the alliance. He sent people to talk to the alliance, but who knew that the alliance would use the excuse that the people weren't educated enough to openly occupy a city? Moreover, he found out that all the places occupied by the alliance were riddled with holes. Mountains were blown open, and there were giant machines working day and night like they were producing something. King Wudong felt that if this continued, the entire land would be destroyed by the alliance. Zhu Xiang had become King Wudong's right-hand man. At the same time, he was one of the few people that King Wudong felt was reliable. His position in the imperial dynasty was much higher than Lu Xian's. Based on the news that Zhu Xiang provided, many people in the imperial dynasty started to collude with the alliance. He knew that such a situation was unavoidable. The imperial dynasty was weak and was in an awkward position. They were sandwiched between the alliance and the top sections. In the future, when the alliance clashed with the top sects, the imperial dynasty would be the first to suffer. King Wudong didn't think much about anything else. He just hoped that he could stabilize the imperial dynasty with the help of these two powers. His brother had sacrificed too much for him. If the imperial dynasty was wiped out in his hands, then even if he died, he wouldn't have the face to face his brother. Your Majesty, the alliance envoy is here again. At that moment, Zhu Xiang walked in from outside. Although he wasn't strong, he was smart and observant. He was able to notice many things from the smallest details. That was why he wasn't at a disadvantage in the fight against Lu Xian. In fact, he even had a slight advantage. Recently, the alliance envoy came more frequently and would come once every 3 to 5 days. Let him in. King Wudong thought about it and knew that something was about to happen. As expected, the news that the alliance envoy brought wasn't good. You're saying that the alliance wants to work with the imperial dynasty to wipe out some sects. King Wudong obviously knew what the alliance was thinking. He didn't want to stand out, and he just wanted to waste the imperial dynasty's strength. Yes, based on our research, apart from the top sects, these mid-tier sects are all hidden dangers. If your Majesty wants to take back the land that you lost, you have to wipe them out. The alliance is willing to help your Majesty. The alliance envoy said. Zhu Xiang felt that the alliance didn't have good intentions, but this wasn't something that he could control. Everything depended on what the emperor was thinking. King Wudong said, "We still need to consider this matter. Apart from the top sects, there are just too many mid-tier sects, and they are all spread out. Even if the imperial dynasty and the alliance work together, it won't be so easy. Moreover, many mid-tier sects and the top sect have a close relationship. If we attack one, we will have to attack all of them. The outcome will be catastrophic." The alliance envoy knew that King Wudong would say that. He took out a letter and handed it over. This is a letter personally written by the alliance headquarters commander. Your Majesty will understand after you read it. King Wudong took the letter and opened it. When he saw the contents, his face turned dark and sunken. He looked at the alliance envoy with eyes filled with killing intent. The alliance envoy looked at King Wudong. What was going on? I didn't do anything to you. Also, what was written in the letter? Why did his expression change after reading it? Very quickly, King Wudong's expression slowly calmed down. I will give you an answer in 3 days. A few days later, Lin Fan looked at the mountain in the distance. Chief Ji, is that where your Ji family is at? I knew it. If it wasn't far, how could I not notice it? So it is here. If I didn't pay attention, I would have missed it. Ji Chang's hands were tied up. Since they left Marshall Path Mountain, his face had been dark and sunken. Till now, he didn't say a single word. On the other hand, the disciples who had come with Ji Chang were extremely furious. Don't worry, I won't kill all of you. Lin Fan smiled. These people were of great use to him. If they died, then they would have nothing, but if they were alive, they would provide him with rage points. In the future, as time passed, they would forget about this matter. Then, he would mock them once more. Wouldn't he be able to gain rage points? He didn't hate the various factions, but everything he did was to seek justice for the people at the border cities. He didn't think much about anything else. Let's go. Let's head to your G family to take a look. In Lin Fan's eyes, there was a thick aura above the G family, and it was obvious that there were experts there. For example, the G family old ancestor who broke through from Dao Realm Stage 4 to Dao Realm Stage 5. Who knew whether or not he succeeded? At that moment, in the G family living room, a guy sat beside the G family old ancestor. Congratulations, old ancestor G, for successfully breaking through to Stage 5. The G family can also improve and become a top family. No, I have to thank Supreme Saint Sec for helping me. If not for DZ asking for pills for me, it wouldn't have been so easy for me to reach Stage 5. The G family old ancestor smiled and was really humble. But the joy of breaking through to Stage 5 was something he couldn't hide. Dao Realm Stage 4 was Stage 4, but Stage 5 was different. Saint King appeared. Not only did his strength increase tremendously, but his status had also risen by a lot. Old Ancestor, is Xuefei back? DZ asked. He came here to see Xuefei. But till now, he didn't even see a single person. Where is she? P.S. Today, Chidian said that it would be under maintenance for a few days. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.